stirring up our flame, telling us it's time to rise up unashamed. Everyday heroes standing tall in the crowd, fighting for freedom, strong and unbound. One voice can light the way, every vote, every say. We're the ones who shape the fight, guiding truth through the night. For Trump we raise our heads, together we take a stand. We're the ones they fear and see, the heart of liberty. You don't need a cape, you don't need to fly. Just a choice to stand and never deny. Every voice matters, every single sound. When we all stand up, we'll never back down. One voice can light the way, every vote, every say. We're the ones who shape the fight, guiding truth through the night. One Trump, we raise our heads, together we take a stand. We're the ones they fear and see, the heart of liberty. When the road gets rough, when the stakes get high, don't lose faith, just aim for the sky. We're all heroes, we're all the change. United we stand up, one less strange. One voice can light the way, every vote, every say. We're the ones who shape the fight, guiding truth through the night. For Trump we raise our heads, together we take a stand. We're the ones they fear and see, the heart of liberty. When the road gets rough, when the stakes get high, don't lose faith, just aim for the sky. We're all heroes, we're all the change. United we stand, not one left strange. We're born in a flash of light, they'll meet when we stand, when we fight. When the echo of truth in a stormy land, side by side, hand in hand. Hand in hand.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Hello, hello, hello.
What's up, Dr. Jade?
You know, just another lovely day in the neighborhood. And what about you, Rich?
Same shit, different day, right?
That's it.
It's Friday. Yeah. How's everybody out there doing? I gotta get to the comments. Hey, what's up, Jeremiah? What's up, guys?
Who's out there? We got Simon. Hi, Simon. We got Jeff. Got Colonel Rangus.
Cool. Jeff's out there. Cool.
Jeremiah. Hey, Jeremiah.
What's up, everybody?
And Uncle Bob.
Hey, Bobby.
Bobbity.
There you go. Right on time. All right, man. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff went on this week. How was your week, Jade?
You know, the closer I get to retirement, the more people just want to get a piece of me before I go out the door.
Yeah, you got to retire from retiring.
Yeah, it's just pretty amazing. Pretty soon it's going to be all, in the rearview mirror.
They all made their living off you, so think about it. They want to get what they can while they still can.
Yeah. Yeah. And some people, most of my people, I don't mind. There's some that really just want to, it feels like they just want a piece of it, So I'm sure you've dealt with people like that.
Oh, every day of my life. Let me see. Let's go over real quick.
So you got a bunch of good stuff for us today?
Look at all this, the top left we got. But then we got, I think, 7 of these that are like the important ones. That, man, there's so much stuff. We'll wait for a couple more people. Oh, we got 9 now. Cool. All right. That's the magic number.
All right. The magic number?
Yep. There you go. Let's start all with Trump announces new tax proposal, and it's pretty awesome. Gotta love that, man. So on Thursday during a speech, oh, screw you, PJ. And Thursday during a speech at the Detroit Economic Club, Donald Trump announced his intention to make interest on car loans fully tax deductible if elected. How about that?
That's interesting.
Today I'm announcing, that is part of our tax cut. Now, Kamala will come out with a plan tomorrow, believe it or not, and this is a new one, to the interest on car loans to be fully tax deductible. And she'll say that she thought of this last Wednesday. He says, today I'm announcing that as part of our tax cuts, we will make interest on car loans fully deductible. In a classic Trump fashion, he connected with the auto industry professionals in the room, noting that the idea even impressed industry veterans. I met a lot of them backstage, he said. Okay. So according to Trump, one longtime auto industry professional told him, I've been in the car industry all my life. I've never thought about that. The former president compared the proposal to a breakthrough like the invention of the paper clip. You got to love Trump, man. Adding, somebody comes up with the paper clip and everybody says, why the hell didn't we think of that? That is true, though. Trump emphasized that making car loan interest fully deductible would dramatically lower the cost of car ownership, especially for working families. This will stimulate massive domestic auto production. It will. And it'll just get rid of it. It'll boost regular auto manufacturing so that we don't need to switch over to these EV pieces of crap, and make car ownership dramatically more affordable for millions and millions of working American families. So the idea behind this tax cut is simple but impactful. By making interest payments on car loans deductible, Trump aims to give a financial break to Americans while encouraging more car sales and stimulating the auto industry. And what the hell? Biden just bought 87,000 new IRS agents. Let them work on all those deductions for auto loans. Since the autos, I wonder if leases are in there. I guess they are. Yeah. Since the auto sector is such a vital part of the economy, particularly in places like Michigan, that I think Kamala's going to lose because she keeps pushing EV. This policy could be a game changer for both consumers and manufacturers. So what do you think of that, Jade?
Well, first of all, I think I told you months ago that I had a very good feeling about Michigan.
Oh, good.
And I still do. And
good.
I mean, the polls are so screwy. I don't know if I believe any of them.
Right.
But with
the internals, I heard, are so true that they're frightening the Dems. The internal.
The what is?
The internal polls. The internal
polls,
ones are the ones that we don't get to see. They see them, and they're usually spot on.
Yeah, and I've had a good feeling about Michigan. Even the polls are saying, "Oh, Harris is 1 or 2% ahead." I see the Teamsters, how they came out. I saw the reaction to Trump's, wanting to support the car industry. I see the reaction to Harris pushing EVs and, wanting to bring in all these cheap Chinese cars. And I've got a good feeling about Michigan.
Yeah, well, since you're talking about Michigan, did you hear about all the super weird videos that Gretchen Whitmer is doing?
What do you mean? I don't know that I did.
I got it right here. I'll show you. Where do you see this? It's not the bee. Have y'all seen the super weird videos that Michigan's governor is making lately? And I mean, it's just wow. Let's. Okay. That's it. That's the video. Here's other ones. Ready? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a Michiganer. I know that was a word. I have no idea what is happening to this woman. I know she wants to invest in Michigan's abortion tourism industry. But watch this. Just watch.
I'm here with volunteers, and they're cooking with gas.
What the hell was this?
My house party just slayed.
I'm calling voters today, rizzing them up.
Trump wants to ship union jobs overseas, not chill. This is gas. Trump wants to cut taxes for billionaires. I'm leaving the chat. No cap. I'm Swifty AF. It's giving the next president.
Swifty AF. I mean, talk about cringe. Holy mackerel. Here you go.
What? Okay, here's the question.
Challenge accepted, Governor.
Here's a nudie one.
Oh, I know what it is. It's Kamala Harris's plan to give first-time homebuyers $25,000.
Yeah,
Jack, that's incredible.
Talk about inflation.
Oh, I know. It's Kamala Harris's plan to keep lowering the cost of prescription drugs and put more money back in people's pockets.
It's Kamala Harris's plan to lower costs for working families by giving a $6,000 child tax credit.
Jack, Donald Trump just doesn't get us. That's what it was. He's never even been to a Culver's, been to a grocery store. He doesn't know our lives. Oh, movie. 2 words. First word. Miscongeniality.
Oh, good Lord.
Okay, question.
Yeah.
What in the ever-loving flying Fanny Adams was that?
I got to Flying Fanny Adams. I got to remember that one. I like that one. I don't know why, but I do. Flying Fanny Adams. I have no idea what the hell that was.
What were they saying?
Hear me out. Maybe, just saying maybe, we should have let the FBI go ahead and stretch the Gretch. Yeah, you remember what he's talking about is the phony. Now, you want to know something? I liken, Bobbity, thank you for bringing that up. I liken that. What's up, Jimmy? I liken that incident where they had the fake feds that are doing it to January 6th. In January 6th, they had, besides having all the FBI informants inside the crowd instigating shit, Ray Epps, anyone? But they also had the DC pipe bomb that was just outside the DNC, and they had the vice president-elect, Kamala, was in there, in the building, like 35 feet away from the supposed pipe bomb, right? So think about this. The Democrats are weaponizing the DOJ even back in 2020, probably, well, we know that they spied on the campaign, but I'm saying they did these little acts where they wanted to be able to put like a little story out. Oh, these evil Republicans, these Trump supporters, they tried to kidnap the Michigan governor, and that way it would put like another little seed. What's up, Bass? Flying bum Fanny Adams. There you go. And so I liken that to what the hell they did at January 6th, where they create the incident and then blame the results of the incident on their enemies.
Well, didn't it turn out that they arrested all these guys and there was like 2 of them in the group and 10 or 12 FBI people?
Yeah, there was far more FBI agents in the group. And as a matter of fact, the one FBI agent actually paid for all the stuff that they had to use, like the rope, handcuffs, all the stuff they had to use to kidnap her.
Yeah, they set it up.
FBI paid for it.
Can you say entrapment?
Yeah, I know.
I knew you could.
Well, that's why it was thrown out.
And then on J6, I think they've actually come out and admitted there were FBI in the crowd. And if you look at the footage, the FBI was inciting the crowd. And then, okay, tell me this. Ray Epps had nothing to do with anything, right? However, you tell me this. They arrested a bunch of people. They got credit card companies to give the police information on anyone who had purchased anything in the DC area within the previous 48 hours. And they went to their homes and they arrested them.
Right.
We have video footage of Ray Epps saying, we have to enter tomorrow. We have to enter the Capitol building. We're going to enter the Capitol. So we have that, and we haven't arrested Ray Epps.
Right. Well, then they finally did, and they said, "Well, we interviewed him, and we found nothing, so we just let him go." We have like 4 videos that we played on this channel ad nauseum back then of him. We got to go in the bed, and the guys are all like, "Fed, Fed, Fed, Fed." Remember that? Because he was a Fed. I mean, holy crap. That's why I keep saying they're not a law enforcement agency anymore. The FBI is an intelligence agency.
Well, they were always supposed to be an intelligence agency.
No, they were supposed to be.
They were supposed to be an investigative agency.
Exactly. That's law.
And they were never supposed to have policing powers. We talked about this.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, the feds have no right to actually have a police force. They can have
they have no right to own land either. And look how that worked out for the West Coast and from the middle of the country over.
Yeah, they can put together a military. But
actually, they can only put, according to the Constitution, put together a Navy.
Navy, but
no standing army. Here we go.
I'm not too worried about that because you can extend it to Marines and whatnot. But
Right.
the point being
Instigation.
is that they were never supposed to have a standing police force. That was never authorized. And the FBI was supposed to do an investigation and work with the local police to bust. And the only exceptions to that were thoroughly federal things, like the Treasury agents could go after counterfeiters.
Right.
And they could go into your jurisdiction for very specific reasons. Other than that, the sheriff can kick their asses out.
Right.
Anyway, that was very weird.
Yeah, it was very weird. Let me go on to, let's see. We're going to do election tilts toward Trump as suspicions grow that some polls may be making true size of his, maybe masking true size of his lead. Oh gosh, they never did that before. This is just the news, John Solomon's thing, but it's Ben Whedon who did it. A string of polls from legacy outfits has pointed to a shift toward former President Donald Trump in most of the major battleground states, while Vice President Heels Up Harris maintains a national lead. But some analysts see a critical disconnect between state and national polling that could suggest the Republicans are on even stronger footing. Yeah, they want to say, oh, it's within the plus or minus margin of the cheating. You know what they really need to do, Jade? I think what the lawyers or whatever, what they really need to, and I got a story on that. The lawyers, what they really need to do is to tell all these frickin' states that, no, you're not going to wait to see how many votes Kamala needs to win, and then you're going to proceed until you get that many votes. They can't do that, or else Trump loses. I haven't heard anything, because I think they're of the nature of, they think that, well, you know, we have to beat the cheat with the amount of people coming out, and it looks like we're going to do that. No, they could be 7 million behind and say they're going to stop counting at 7 o'clock at night, and by 7 a.m. they got 9 million. You know, I mean, you know it, and I know it. They can't do that anymore. I mean, how many times I still remember the pain of sitting there watching state after state where they go, oh, we're still counting them, you know, and you just see Trump's lead going down, down, down. You're like, what the fuck? We know it's bullshit. So they got to have like some kind of rule. You can't count after a certain amount of time. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but I hope the red states put that out there, at least in their integrity laws. Harris currently leads Trump by 2 percentage points. Does anybody believe that? In the Real Clear Politics polling average, with 49.1% support to his 47.1. Like everything else, they lopsided. That figure includes a Rasmussen Reports survey showing Trump with a 2-point lead, a Reuters Ipsos survey showing Harris up by 2, a Morning Consult poll with Harris up by 5, bullshit, a Yahoo News poll with the race tied, and a number of other surveys. A New York Times Siena College survey showed Harris up by 3 points, bullshit. But pollsters have pointed to an apparent disconnect between state and national level polls, with state-level surveys increasingly shifting toward Trump, while Harris seemingly holds steady at the national level. They have, you know why? Because the national level are totally politicized. Seriously, think about this. When you watch the cable channels, right, even Fox, when you watch Fox News, completely political. It just is. Let's admit it, right? But when you watch your local Fox station, they're not. They do local stories. They don't have to freaking lie to you, you know, unless it's a national story and they bring one of the a-holes in from the national cable networks. But normally your local news is pretty trustworthy still, unless, you know, you're from where Bobbity lives. No offense, Bobbity. So let's see where things stand. Dominating headlines this week was a bombshell Quinnipiac University survey, which is typically favorable to Democrats, that showed Trump leading by 2 points in Wisconsin and 3 in Michigan. Now make that 5 and 7. The Harris post-debate starburst dims to a glow as Harris enters the last weeks slipping slightly in the Rust Belt. She should lose the Rust Belt. I mean, she wants to push EV cars. Holy Christ. Far from an outlier, other surveys have followed those results, showing Trump either tied or leading Harris in those battlegrounds. A survey from the Hill Emerson College, for instance, showed the Michigan race tied at 49% each. Now, do you really believe? I mean, could it be possible that they're tied? I mean, do these people like not watch the same stuff? I mean, I watch CNN just to get, you know, how the retards are thinking. Do they not watch anything else? How can you still be for Kamala when she's gonna thin out your wallet, right? She's gonna let illegals in by the millions more if she gets it. I mean, think of all the other things. She's gonna take your guns. She's gonna stop fracking. She's just gonna be a miserable mess.
Two things:
Yeah,
lying and magical thinking.
there you go. It's always good to have dreams. That survey found the same result in Wisconsin. You know, we don't even need to read the rest. Oh, this kind of crap just like pisses me off.
You know what I'm looking for?
What's that?
You know, last few years have looked so much like 1984.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, George Orwell's 1984.
Yep.
I want to see a 1984 election map. Do you remember what election that was?
What, the Reagan and who? Who was in that? Was it Dukakis?
It was Reagan's second term.
Yeah.
Do you know what the map looked like?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, totally crimson.
There was one state that was blue.
Right. Oh, that was Mondale. Yeah. And you know, I heard the story that.
You remember what state it was?
Yeah. It was Minnesota.
Minnesota. It's the only,
yeah, because it was Mondale.
It was the only state that stayed blue that year.
And here's a little sidebar you might not know. His people came to him and said, "Sir, we could actually take Minnesota if you went there. We could take it." And you know what he said? "Well, I think we should just give him one." That's what he said.
Did he say that?
Yeah. Let him win his own state.
But, you know, you ask me, this has been so much like George Orwell's 1984. That would be a fitting end to the year.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't expect it. But, you know, everybody, hey, they can dream. I can dream, right?
Oh, yeah. Dreaming's good. Let's get back to it. Let's see what else we're going to do. There's so many cool things we could do. Yeah. Oh, this is good. It's a video of Newt. Let me pause it, get it up there. All right. Well, this is it says she's really hurt her record. This is where now I know some people don't like Newt, but I like to listen to him because he does have his pulse on things and he's usually spot on. So I listen to him. Let me let's play it.
What a name, though.
Yeah. This other guy's a pollster.
We're not seeing anything here.
Oh, shit. Sorry. I do this once a week. I always forget to share the damn tab.
All right.
That's why I'm here, is to remind you.
Look, I think that Kamala Harris has a number of big problems. One is that the two hurricanes, particularly the total disaster in North Carolina, and the reality of war in the Middle East and the reality of war in Ukraine and the reality of 20 million illegal immigrants, including increasing attention to the people coming in, the organized criminals coming in from Venezuela. All of that, I think, puts her at a difficulty because while she might be an acceptable candidate in a period of peace and prosperity, if you need a strong commander-in-chief at a time that the country is in danger, I think that she fails at almost every grounds, including just body language. And she's not capable of communicating how in a way that most people would think, oh yeah, that I can see her in a real crisis doing something. I think second, she's really hurt by her record in ways that are weird.
Weird.
The fact that she has apparently not attended any of the hurricane briefings for 4 years. The fact that Governor DeSantis said the other day that she never called during any of the hurricanes in the years she was vice president until now, that it's a campaign issue. All of that's just a reminder to people that in a lot of ways, she was not a serious person. She didn't do her job, but she didn't do her homework. She didn't do the grinding daily things you have to do to be successful at the top. And then third, and I'm partly influenced by watching Saturday Night Live, which has the most brilliant rendition of her I've ever seen. But I'm also influenced by just watching her. I think, and I suspect you and I disagree a little bit about this. I think the dual disaster that she did badly on her own on 60 Minutes, and people were just tearing her apart the next day.
Oh, yeah.
Hugh Hewitt in particular just was astonishing, and how much he took apart that interview. But then the secondary story, which you and I agree that 60 Minutes has always had a tradition of editing cheerfully, which is why I refused to go on. I told them years ago, I said, I'll be glad to come on if it's unedited tape, but I will not come on if you're going to edit it. And they said, well, you're not coming on then.
Good.
But
don't go on.
Given the mood of the country about the way the media has decayed, to have the two, and the both versions are now out, to have the totally incoherent version of her answering, followed by the edited CBS version of her answering, is just one more blow at two levels. One is it reminds everybody that the media who they dislike is totally for her. And two, it gives everybody a chance to see these two comparative explanations, and is just a further reminder of how incoherent she's capable of being when she's on her own. So my guess is, and again, as you know, I was wrong about the red wave in 2022. I'm cheerfully willing to accept that there are moments I've misunderstood this stuff. But my guess is that we're in the early stages of watching her collapse, and that given the objective, larger realities that surround her. One last comment, which I know you wrote me back about today. My hunch as a historian and occasional novelist is that sometime in the last 2 weeks, Joe and Jill looked at each other and thought, wouldn't it be a great legacy if Joe's the only guy ever to beat Trump? And I think the stuff he's done to undermine her in the last 10 days is pretty amazing, and I don't think it's an accident.
Yeah, that was epic, man.
Yeah, what's he scheduling news conferences for when she's doing rallies?
Yeah, I left that up. I'm sorry, guys.
Sweet.
Yeah, I know. I mean, think about it. He, when DeSantis, like, she pulled that bullshit. I had it in my video this week where, of course, a news person lobbed it to her. People are saying, who's the people? Well, me. People are saying that Ron DeSantis wouldn't take your phone call. Like, who the F is she? She's a vice president. She has absolutely no role. And that's what DeSantis finally said. He said, look, I've been on the phone with the president. I've been on the phone with the head of FEMA. We got everything that we asked for so far, and we're making do. And he goes, for Kamala to come out and say that my caring more about helping my Floridian constituents is selfish or petty. He goes, come on. He goes, and then he said, in the last 3.5 years, all the hurricanes and storms that we've had, she never once called me. Never once. Only now.
Yeah, he forgot one. He forgot one adjective: arrogance.
Yeah, but then Biden, oh, man, he landed it on her. He did that little presser where he was in a meeting and he brought the cameras in and said, all the
governors.
I called him. I gave him my personal number in case he needs anything else. He's doing a great job. And I'm like, awesome. Oh, you got to love when they hate each other.
Yeah. I love it. I love infighting. But yeah, the arrogance of the woman, the fact that she would sit there and go, oh, he wouldn't take my
call. Well, who the hell are you?
Listen, bitch.
Yeah.
Sorry. But, listen, bitch, who are you? I spoke to the president.
I'm a bad influence on you.
In case, you're a bad influence. In case you haven't noticed,
you're right.
He's actually one higher on the totem pole than you.
Yeah.
And
you know what? I was thinking of doing a video on this, and I'll get all the deets and everything in it. But here's the premise. So what's the one thing, the top thing that they keep saying, oh, these Republicans, these MAGA extremists, what do they talk about? It's January 6th. And what's the word? Insurrection. They talk about an insurrection, right? Trying to take over the government. Well, Joe Biden went through a primary process, got 14 million votes, meaning that the Democrat voters wanted him to run against Trump in November. And the party came out and grabbed him, kicked him in the ass, and did the old hook cane and yanked him off the stage, right? And propped her up. She didn't win a single primary vote. And you hear how she's answering that now when they say that to her. She goes, well, I won the nomination and I'm very proud to be here. It's like, that's not what they asked you, dumbass. You know, so that was, no, hold on. That was a true insurrection. That was the Democratic Party, which is not a government institution. That is a private organization, okay? That is the Democratic Party. Civilians went in and grabbed a man off stage and said, you ain't running, even though he secured that nomination.
And she did not.
And the thing that pisses me off the most is that these bastards are making me defend Joe Biden. But still, they took his ass out and put her in. And the only reason they put her in is because she controlled the delegates, most of them anyway, and the money, the fundraised money. They didn't want to give that up because they wouldn't have enough time to bring more in.
And she's older now, so she doesn't pull the same shenanigans she did when she was, was it city attorney for San Francisco and when she became the AG of California. But you got to wonder what she did for who, to get people behind her.
Well, they were behind her. Trust me. Some of them were. And they call her Heels Up Harris for a reason.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. We know. I mean, she's not as young as she used to be. I don't know how many are, still chasing after her.
Like, I have a friend who she emailed me last night with a video, and she's like, "Oh my God, she dated Montel Williams." I was like, I thought everybody knew that, but yeah, she did because she wanted to become popular. She thought that Williams' popularity would go on to her, and that she could be something. She never did anything on her own, ever, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, she is the ultimate user and manipulator.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Here we go. Here you go. Kamala Harris's brutal performance reviews while she was a lawyer. So she always brags about, I took on the cartel. You didn't do shit, lady. So Kamala Harris received poor marks for leadership as a lawyer in San Francisco, documents reveal. Kamala Harris received poor performance reviews when she worked as a civil lawyer for the city of San Francisco, according to a copy of city documents obtained by DailyMail.com, the most read newspaper in the world. The now vice president took a job with the city of San Francisco after she resigned from the San Francisco district attorney's office after she led a poorly organized coup to overthrow Chief Deputy District Attorney Darrell Solomon. How about that? I'll bet nobody here knew that because the media doesn't want us to know.
And then she never would have been the city attorney if she wasn't banging Willie
right.
Brown, and she never would have been the AG in California.
Yep. Now, do you know when she was district attorney of San Francisco? Do you know who the mayor was?
When she was, Gavin.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? The two idiots together. So she says, I've become disillusioned and disappointed with the top leadership of the district attorney's office when she resigned, complaining about dysfunctional leadership and low level of morale in the office. Yeah, well, she can't keep a staff.
I was going to say,
leader. What's that?
She should know about dysfunctional and poor moral.
I know.
Poor morale. She should know about that.
I know. She can't keep people, but Harris's leadership skills in her new job were not that impressive either. Harris left the district attorney's office to work for city attorney Louise Renee, or Renee? Would it be Renee? Who cares? As a deputy attorney to run the child services unit for the city in 2000. But as she plotted to challenge her old boss, District Attorney Terrence Hallinan, for his job, she was not taking her new job seriously. Did she ever? By September 2002, Department of Human Services issued a performance review for the team that was less than favorable. Now, here we go. I wonder if they're going after the Daily Mail now because of this. Although Harris and her team got favorable ratings for her quality of work, creativity, and her advice and understanding of problems, which means they probably slept with her, they got less favorable marks for other important metrics. On a scale of 1 to 5, Harris got only a 2 on whether she was thorough, helpful, and proactive, and only a 3 on whether she showed good judgment. Well, that's who you want for president. Harris also got a 2 rating for recognizing deadlines. It took her, 8 months to get to the border, and then she went 50 miles away from any activity. Fast turnaround and anticipating their needs. In other words, she's a moron that didn't belong where she was. Even more embarrassing was her failure to return phone calls and emails promptly. We won't read all those. The survey was based on a group rating by court officers of the entire unit, according to the survey's conclusion. The performance review read, job performance varies dramatically by individual attorneys, which indicates a lack of communication and leadership in the group. Right. If they're all going different ways, then the person in charge is not really in charge. Because, and you know what? It seems to me that Harris loves the pomp and circumstance of having the title and the authority, but then let somebody else do the work. I got to work. Doesn't she seem like that, Jade?
Yeah, I mean, she wants the power and she'll do anything to get it.
Yeah. But then when she has, it's like the Marxists, she
doesn't want to do her job. She just wants to have.
I know. Well, the communists, their whole thing is about the fight. We got to win the fight. But then when they win, they have no idea what to do because they never planned what to do. How to actually do the job.
You know what's the difference between Kamala Harris and a sheep?
What's that?
There's some things a sheep just won't do.
That's a good one. I got to remember that one. I mean, even John Lennon understood that about the Marxists when he said, "You say you want a revolution." He talked about the plan. We all need to see your plan. And it was because he had a meeting with a lot of lefty groups back then who said, "We want you to join us. Lend your name." And he said, "Look," he goes, "I'm all down with the whole left wing shit. However, you guys got to tell me how you're going to follow through if you're victorious, because you guys never do that." And then he wrote a song about it. Harris's performance review was one more example of how she offered only average or even poor leadership in her position after running a successful campaign to achieve it. It sounds like what she always does. Harris was appointed to 2 high-paying part-time state board positions while she was dating then Assembly Speaker Willie Brown, but was frequently absent for the meetings. Of course, she had better things to do, even though they were only held once or twice a month. Holy crap.
Yeah, she doesn't want to go to the meetings. She just wants to get the pay and the
There you go. It's like a committee person. You got once a month, like the second Tuesday of every month or the first Tuesday. And if you can't go, get the hell out of the job. After campaigning and beating Hallinan in 2003 for the job of district attorney, conviction rates fell on her watch, followed by a scandal in the crime lab that prompted her to dismiss over 1,000 cases. Oof. As vice president, Harris is now running for president on her record of service as a prosecutor, despite a mixed record. So in other words, all this crap where she goes, "I'm the only one here who knows how to prosecute." And as she throws all that bullshit out here, she sucked. And her performance review said that.
She sucks. I think we knew that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to how do you fail your way to the top, right?
Yeah, really. Heels up Harris.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't, guys.
Would you touch that? Oh, my God.
No. Would you tap that? No. Not even with a 10-foot. Never mind. This is a great one, guys. Oh, I love this. My guy Steve wrote this. Russia announces they have evidence U.S. and the U.K. were behind Nord Stream pipeline bombings. Oh, here we go. Russia is proclaiming that they have evidence that the United States and Great Britain were responsible for the bombing of the Nord Stream pipeline. Now, it's no shock to me that Biden was involved, but the UK, it kind of was, because I never thought, they would go along with it. But what the hell? They're as lefty as we are. No offense to anybody in the chat. I'm talking about your government, not you. That would explain why the U.S. did not allow an independent investigation to take place. Russia also accuses the U.S. of interfering in the investigation into this terror attack. Remember, Democrats most often side with terrorists, especially when they attack Israel. The USA was not interested in an independent investigation of the attack on the Nord Stream pipeline. Russia charged at the UN Security Council. Russian spokesman Maria Zakharova, I got it, says the reason they oppose the independent investigation is that The U.S. officials involved are lying. Well, that was a pretty simple cut and dry. Russian UN ambassador Vasily Nebenez, who cares, said he has the impression Western experts are not interested in an unbiased international investigation. Well, why should they be? They did it. This, of course, only aggravates our suspicions. I mean, don't we have Biden who answered the woman who questioned him? How are you going to do that? How are you going to shut it down and stop it? Oh, trust me, we'll stop it. Yeah, and then they blew it the fuck up. Russia wants an independent investigation, but the U.S. is expected to veto the idea. Nebenzia said at the time, we have strong reasons to doubt the effectiveness, transparency, and impartiality of investigations that are being carried out under some national jurisdictions. Then why do you want an investigation? We do not see our partners being eager to cooperate. Reporter Seymour Hersh made the accusation at the time that the U.S. planted the explosives during. I remember reading this. During a NATO exercise, Russia made the accusation that they now have proof that the U.S. blew up the Nord Stream gas pipeline. If you remember, it was like once that pipeline went, it was like a week later, they had a brand new pipeline that they could use. It went from Norway. Where did it go? From Norway to something. I think maybe the UK. But it was a brand new pipeline, which just magically went online right after they blew up the other one. So the foreign minister, you were going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, right from the beginning, I wondered, who else was going to do it? The U.S., who had to gain from it? Russia didn't have anything to gain other than false flag type scenario. They didn't really have anything to gain. Europe didn't have anything to gain. They were cutting their own knees off.
I think it speaks to the stupidity of the left in this country when they all said, yeah. Putin said, I'll show you, you Western bastards. I'm going to blow up my own pipeline.
He could have just gone over.
He could have shut it off.
Turned the valve.
He could have turned the off switch.
Yeah. Just turn the valve.
Yeah, he's going to, exactly. He's going to blow up his own pipeline.
Why would he? You turn the valve off.
He wouldn't.
And then you.
Well, he's just a crazy guy. No, you're crazy for fucking believing that.
Yeah. If you just turn the valve off, now you can negotiate for what you're going to get to turn the valve back on.
So it says Russian.
Yeah, never made any sense.
Never made sense, but only to a libtard, to a libnut.
Yeah. So Russia, no. Other than, like I said, if they wanted to promote a false flag type of thing. But Russia, no. Europe, they're cutting themselves down because they're cutting off their own energy supply. So
I know. I remember when Trump went to the UN and he spoke to the German delegates. And they laughed at him. And he said, if you go with this Russian plan, Putin will own you.
Yeah,
and then look what happened. Putin
will be too dependent on
the gas,
Russian energy.
Yeah. So the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman said, this evidence exists. As to whether we will publish it, which will also tell you what kind of evidence it is, that would depend on how the situation around the investigation unfolds. Because we have repeatedly offered cooperation to everyone, we did it publicly and via the available legal channels between law enforcement agencies. We have contacted them repeatedly. Therefore, in my opinion, those who carry out the investigations abroad in Germany, it has long been clear in Denmark and Sweden, but Germany must be interested in exchanging materials, in obtaining information from us, and in providing corresponding information to us. Moreover, we were ready to present everything that we have within the investigation under the UN. See, it seems to me that the Biden people are trying to ride this one out. Joe's going, oh, I just can't wait till I'm out of office and don't have to deal with this anymore. Because who's going to go after him? Where am I? Is Matlock on? I mean, can you imagine him like 2 years from now when like all this shit would come down? Unreal. Unfreaking real. Let me go back to here. Toward Trump, suspicions grow. Yeah, we already did that one. Harris finally forced to address her unprecedented nomination route at Univision Town Hall. Is there a video? Can we skip to the video? No, there's no video. Damn you, New York Post. All right. Vice President Kamala Harris finally confronted the question of her candidacy's primary free path. I love that, primary free. After 10 weeks as the presumptive and then actual Democratic presidential nominee. And her answer was always, well, I won the nomination. You didn't get a single primary vote. And I'm proud of that. Of course you would be. And it wasn't a reporter who asked. It was an undecided voter at Univision's Thursday town hall. Quote, you earned your candidacy without going through the normal process. You just know that the bottom of the note that she was reading from said, thanks, Joe. You earned your candidacy without going through the normal process. That is primary elections or through a caucus, said property manager Mario Sigbaum, a Uruguay native who became a U.S. citizen 28 years ago. God bless you. That really caught my attention. I'm also concerned about the way I feel President Biden was pushed aside. Good Democrat. How can you clarify this? Harris acknowledged the unprecedented way she secured the nod. Quote, President Biden made a historic, President Biden made, she says this every single time, President Biden made a decision that I think history will show is probably one of the most courageous that a president could make. They they grabbed him by his shorts, gave him a giant wedgie, and carried him off stage. I mean, isn't that what they did, basically? That a president could make, which is he decided to put country above personal interest. Okay. And he made that decision. Let me read this as it's written. And he made that decision. Within the same period of time, supported my candidacy and urged me to run. Yeah. Oh, I need you to run. Run for me. Yeah, bullshit. That's why he's throwing her under the bus. And I am honored to have earned the Democratic nomination. You didn't. They had no one else that had the money and the delegates. But former President Donald Trump, who, unlike Harris, bested a field of rivals in 2 presidential primary cycles, represents the actual anti-democratic threat, she said in a quick pivot. Donald Trump said he would, and I'm using quote, terminate the Constitution of the United States. He never said that. Heels up Harris, lying again. Imagine the Constitution of the United States would guarantee the Fourth Amendment. When do Democrats ever cite the Constitution? When it helps them. You ever notice that, Jay? They only cite things in the Constitution when it helps them with a progressive, radical Marxist argument.
What can you say? They hate the Constitution.
Just imagine the Constitution of the. I mean, Barack Obama literally said once on video, he said that he thinks that the Constitution is not strong enough because it doesn't allow government to help people. Government's not supposed to help people. Sorry, it's not.
Translated into human being language, it's not shaped the way that I would like it so that we can have the ultimate power that we want.
Right. That's exactly correct. And you know, I'll never forget, I watched an interview with Dinesh D'Souza, and he said that when he first came here, he came on a student visa and he went out to California, but then he was in New York for some party of something. It was a political thing, and it was a dinner and all that. And he said he had a couple of Indian friends with him, and that Chuck U. Schumer, came up to him and introduced himself and was talking to them and all. And he said, you know, you Indian guys, can you imagine? You Indian guys, you got a 7-Eleven, you Indian guys. He goes, you guys are really something. They're like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you never ask for anything from the government. And they're looking at him like, I'm sorry, are we supposed to? Like, they didn't get it. Right. They were like, that's okay. We're doing fine on our own. He's like, no, you got to ask for something. So in other words, that is the Democrat mojo. That is, we're going to fuck things up so bad that you have to ask us for help. Like, oh, thank you, Mr. Congressman, for getting my Social Security check cleared up. Instead of, hey, asshole, why don't you make sure that the system works the first time? Right. And that is Kamala. Let's see. What's that?
I'm speechless. She's just so incompetent.
She really is. I mean, Noticias, is that it? Noticias, I guess.
Noticias.
Yeah. Present. Latinos ask, Kamala Harris responds. Sponsored by, what am I reading that for? Thursday. Let's see. The 1-hour program recorded in the University of Nevada, Las Vegas campus featured questions from Hispanics said to be undecided about the choice next month. You're undecided at this point. The network flew in at least 2 voters. Wow. From Florida and Wisconsin for the event. They flew in 2 of them. Voters queried the Veep in Spanish and English, with moderator Enrique Acevedo providing Harris a translation when needed. She answered in English. At one point, Harris offered sympathy to a questioner who said her non-citizen mother, who apparently resided in America for decades, died without getting necessary health care. You should have tried to become a citizen if you were here for decades. I mean, think about this. If the woman lived here for decades, every day she would, should I go do that paperwork? Nah, fuck it. Right? I mean,
you're preaching to the choir here, Rich.
I know. I mean, you, perfect example. You come here not looking for anything except freedom, and you go through the whole thing. But I mean, who would, and people like Kamala have sympathy for them. She couldn't get the right health care. You could have filled out some forms and paid a couple legal fees and went 9 years. You would have at least got that green card, which are now blue, by the way. You would have gotten that card and you would have been a national and you would have been able to get a job and get, benefits and all that, but you didn't want to do it.
Are they blue? Are they blue now? When we got ours, they were pink.
Oh, pink? Yeah. I knew they stopped being green a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now I understand they're blue. I could be wrong, but I was told by somebody like a few years back, they said, no, they're actually blue now.
Ours were pink. We had a local Mexican restaurant that had, they had, frequent flyer cards.
Yeah.
And you bought, so many meals and you would get like a free something. And they were white cardboard. I mean, they were kind of like, what am I trying to say? The little card, like credit card size to something. Like, my brain is turning to. Oh, anyway, they were like white with printed in green ink, and they called them. They said, "This is your green card." They called them the green card.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. Nobody else maybe thinks it's funny. I thought it was funny.
Okay. Sorry.
It's not funny if you have to explain it, Rich.
There you go. Here's one. A poll says that 60% say Kamala hasn't clearly explained her immigration policies because she can't. 60% of Americans say Vice President Kamala Harris hasn't clearly explained her policies on illegal immigration, according to a poll by the Pew Research Center. Now, Pew is one of the few, maybe the only one, organizations that are truly nonpartisan. I mean, they just the old saying, we report, you decide. Fox doesn't do that anymore, but they truly are still. So you can pretty much take it to the bank what they say. Just 30% of American respondents said President Donald Trump has not clearly explained his plans for illegal immigration. That 30% haven't been listening. He said it's going to be the largest deport. He's going to beat Ike for it, according to a September 30 to October 6 poll of 5,110 respondents. On the flip side, 38% say Harris has clearly explained her immigration policies. We're just opening the border. That's pretty simple to remember. And 69% say Trump has clearly explained his planned policies. But Harris has been very clear on other issues. For example, 72% of Americans say Harris has clearly explained her abortion policies, while 60% also said Trump explained his abortion-related policies, which he doesn't have any now. When you think about it, he says the right thing. He goes, look, it's up to the states now, which it should have been all along. The public's recognition that Harris is hiding her immigration policies has 2 likely causes. First, the establishment media rarely pressures her for details. Think about it. They always ask the Republican about abortion, but they never ask a question about abortion, unless the Republican's there and it's a debate and they got to follow through. But they'll never ask an abortion question to the politically correct death squad. They just won't. First, the establishment media rarely pressures her for details whenever she diverts questions about immigration back to her misleading description of the pro-migration bill that the Senate's bipartisan leadership tried to steamroll through the Senate in January. It's true, man. That thing was, oh my God, that was a monstrosity. On October 7th, for example, Harris dodged the issue during a lengthy interview with CBS News, 60 Minutes. But there was an historic flood of undocumented, and it came through, and she said, it's a long-standing problem. They continually try to say the previous administration broke the system. What? I mean, guys, think about that. Who here, show of hands, doesn't know that Trump pretty much solved the illegal immigration problem? Getting help from South American countries, Mexico themselves, remain in Mexico. They put, 10,000 federales on the Guatemala border to keep them over there, right? I mean, he's building a wall, almost done, right? How many people don't know that he pretty much solved it? See, when they say he broke it, what they mean is, oh, well, now we just can't have illegals of unregistered Democrats coming across the border anymore. And that's broken for us. We don't like that. So
yeah, I mean, man, that's kind of like you got a slow leak in your pipe, and you call the plumber, and he just hacks it in half, and he says, "There, it's fixed."
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be about, well, she can't explain anything. She can't explain her way out of a paper bag. Did you see the other day the other week when her teleprompter went out, and
yeah.
she was
total idiot.
She was there going, oh, and we got 32 days left to the election, and then all
32 days. 32 days. Yeah.
32
yeah. She went
days.
full retard. 32 days.
Think about it. 32 days.
I could not believe that.
Yeah, that was great. That was great.
I know.
The little thing in the middle of your screen when your computer decides to go Tango uniform?
You know what it means? It means that she has no grasp of the issues. Because when the teleprompter goes down, you should still at least be able to go on and talk about your beliefs of the issues. She can't.
Well, no, you're making an assumption here. She doesn't have any beliefs. She's just going to say what she thinks people want to hear.
Well, she has belief. Yeah, let me change that. She has beliefs. She just doesn't want you to know what the real ones are.
Well, yeah, I mean,
she's flip-flopping so much.
At this point, she's so vacuous. I wonder if she really does have beliefs. But the bottom line is she just wants to say what she thinks people want to hear.
Oh, yeah. Well, she says different things to different audiences in the same day.
Yeah, you used to be able to get away with that in the days of legacy media.
Yep.
Now, in this day of the 30-second news cycle.
You know why? Because they know that Laura Loomer is going to be somewhere with her camera phone.
Yeah, in these days of the 30-second news cycle, you can't get away with that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You say
but they act like they can. Isn't that weird?
It is.
That's just weird. They act like it's still that they're still around the legacy media. The three big ones that they're going to get away with stuff, but I don't know.
I mean, look at how they behave. Hillary did it and Kamala did it. They go down south and they speak in this weird, outdated Southern.
I ain't no way tired speech. Yeah.
Yeah. That everybody's kind of looking, going, what?
She did. Kamala just did a Hispanic thing. I think I got one of the stories. She did a Hispanic accent.
She tried to do it Hispanic. I don't know that I saw her do that, but I mean, Harris, she was brought up in an Indian household.
Look at this one. Oh, we're going to do this. Look at this. Kamala Harris makes pledge to Latino voters to welcome and grant amnesty for millions of migrants. Do you know what that means? When Reagan was deceived, I think it was 84, 86. I forget. Maybe 86. When he was deceived in going for amnesty, but the Democrats offered him that they were going to do the EB system. I forget what they called it, but it was the system where if you were going to hire someone, they had to prove you couldn't hire them without proving they're a citizen. And then the other one was they were going to put more money towards border enforcement. So they made the deal. He signed it into law. They got the amnesty. They said, go fuck yourself for the other stuff. They never, ever, ever, ever came through with the other things. So being that the majority of them were in California, California overnight went from red to blue. And they want to do that for the United States. They want to do to the United States what they did to California. That's what they want to do.
Well, and they don't actually have to even think that big. All they got to do is do it to Texas.
Yeah, well,
if they do it to Texas, it's all over.
Yeah, Texas wouldn't put up with that shit.
Yeah, what have they deleted like 1.5 million?
Yep. And see, Texas also, here's the thing.
Voter rolls.
Texas lawyers are, their state lawyers are pretty smart, because in the Constitution it says, Article 1, Section 8 gives the power of the federal government to create an uniform rule of naturalization, which means that they're in charge of immigration. However, in the Constitution, it also states that if a state is in war, under attack, they can defend their borders. They can defend themselves.
They can act unilaterally.
And 20 million people coming into their state, destroying cities. And I'm not talking about damaging, burning. I'm talking about they're eating up all the resources, right? So people there don't have resources. They're filling the schools, filling the hospitals, overrunning everything. That's destroying a town, and they're doing it. They're doing it all over. And we got another one. We got a new one that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. That's getting some highlights now, but he declared it an invasion, and that's why he said, now we have the right to shut you the hell out. And that's when they had that standoff. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And Biden had a standoff with Greg Abbott. Yeah, it's crazy when you're.
Don't you remember they put those nets with floats on them in the river, and then they put some concertina wire up, and
they were cutting it down.
They sent the feds out to cut it down.
Cut the wire down. Just, can you imagine? Did you ever think there'd be an administration that would do that? I mean, it was one thing when the Obama administration allowed those 500,000 children in. Remember that, when we saw just thousands and thousands of them at the border in line trying to come in. It's a wide ass line, like a half-mile wide line, trying to come in at the same time, and he allowed it. How did he allow it? He ordered the judges, the immigration judges, to not issue bench warrants when they did not meet their deportation hearings. A lot of people say, well, he's not in charge of the judges. Yeah, he is, because the immigration judges are under the executive branch. They're not under the judiciary. So they respond to the president, and he literally ordered them not to file bench warrants. So he did that, but now he never, ever flew planes into South and Central America saying, get on, we're going north. He never sent buses, which he's doing every day. He never sent buses like Biden down to the Guatemala border and driving them through Mexico into the United States. He never did that. He never cut the concertina wire so that they can come in. Holy Christ. And the border czar wants to run for president. Oh, my God. I'm using his name in vain too much. I got to stop. I got to calm down. So let's do this. Vice President Kamala Harris is promising Latino voters that she will open the borders to a vast number of economic migrants. Yeah, economic migrants. You can't be a refugee asking for asylum if you're an economic migrant. It means you want a better job, right? And they say, the libtards, the libnuts, they always say, well, everybody has a right to apply for asylum. Yes, you do. But if we're going to go down that road, then there are rules with that. The asylum thing is an international agreement, right? And the international agreement on asylum says that you must apply for asylum at the first country you come to outside of your home country that is not at war or persecuting you. For most of these people, it would be Guatemala, wouldn't it? At least Guatemala, right? There's no war there, and they're not persecuting the people coming through. So why didn't they apply in Guatemala? Because Guatemala and Mexico aren't the golden ring. They don't get Biden phones and debit cards and all that shit.
Do you remember when Trump shut the valve coming north from Mexico? All of a sudden, the Mexican authorities were able to stem the tide of Guatemalans coming in.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Mental health care.
Was she supposed to? I don't remember that.
No, I did say I'd have a feel-good story. We don't have a video.
Oh, a feel-good story. Yeah, yeah. You know what? You're right. We didn't do that. I'm sorry. We've let you down.
Yeah, well, no, you didn't get me the video. I couldn't find a video.
Of?
The one about Trump at the recent rally in Butler.
Oh, when he went back to Butler and started off
he
saying,
went
as
back-
I was saying.
Yeah, so if anybody hasn't seen it, it's the greatest thing. It'll warm the cockles of your heart. Although I studied anatomy and I have no idea what the cockles are.
I know, or where they are.
Or where they are. It's like the nuggets when you go in. What part of the chicken is the nugget? Please tell me.
Really?
Anyway, so yeah, he steps up on. For anyone who hasn't seen it, go out of your way. Dr. Steve Turley this week had.
Here, I got it right here.
Oh, you got it. You did find it. Oh, I
Wanna
thought
see
you
it?
didn't find it. Here,
No,
everybody.
I didn't even look for it. I didn't know I was supposed to. I'm sorry.
Oh, I
Here it
told
is.
you to.
Lee, thank you very much, really. And thank you, a very big thank you to Pennsylvania. We love Pennsylvania. And as I was saying,
You gotta love this guy. As I was saying.
They didn't show it,
Oh,
but
this
what
one.
he turned to look at was
oh,
the
I love
same
that.
graph.
I love that chart.
It was the same graph that he was turning to look at.
I know. He
When
says
you-
it right now. He says, I love that
I
chart.
love that
Yeah.
graph.
Watch.
Yeah.
Isn't it a beautiful thing? But also beautiful because look at the number. That's the day I left office. It was the lowest
When he was shot.
Border Patrol, the lowest it's ever been. Illegal immigration. Today it's out of control. But I love it for other reasons too. You know that. So thank you very much. And thank Lee and what Lee has done with that song. And it's such an honor to.
Yep.
That's my feel-good story.
Yeah.
I thought that when I saw that, the first time I saw that, it was like, oh man, that was so great. I just thought it was need to fire.
Hey,
Or not.
I created the intro this week. Okay. Cut me a break. I could play it again. I don't think Liquid was here to see it. I'll send it to you.
But that just, it was like, yes, that just made me feel good. Just when he turns to look at the same graph. It just doesn't get any better.
I know. You got to love it.
It doesn't get any better than that. That's my feel good story for this week.
There you go. What part of the chicken is the nugget? All the parts.
We have something here in Colorado called Rocky Mountain oysters.
Yeah, I'll never be eating those.
I tried them
here. What do we call them here? I forget what we call them here. Besides deer balls, I forget what we call them here.
I've tried them. It's not that I wouldn't eat them. It's just it was like,
and it's not this thing. I'm not going to eat some other animal's testicles. I'm not. It's not that. It's just, ugh.
Well, there was just nothing to it. I tried them. They were just like, it wasn't really very good.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, go back. Okay, Liquid, go back. When we're done here, go back and look at the front end.
Yeah, look at the front end, man. I'll play it before we leave if people want to see it again. I thought it was pretty good. What says, I went to a Mexican chicken place and ordered a bucket of beaks. Can you believe they said no? Okay. So let's see what's next. I do have some good stuff here.
Chinese have chicken feet. I don't know anything more than that, but I've heard they serve chicken feet.
There you go.
Never seen it on a menu anywhere, but I've heard they do in China.
Here we go. Now this one here. Ready? Is this this is the video. This is where Barack Obama, who Democrats still think shits rainbows and ice cream, he gets honest about Kamala's big problem, shows how desperate Dems are. Okay. But you watch this and you tell me. So what Obama does is he goes to wherever he's at. I think it's a headquarters because it has black voters and all. So I think it's a headquarters. And he talks to them for Kamala. you got to see this. Let me bring it out to X. Share this tab here because I want to increase it. Here you go.
Communities is that
Can't understand him.
I know. I got it. Do they have the volume up or yeah, the volume's all the way up. Damn, there's nothing I can do. Yeah, the volume's just all the way up. Oh well. You can't hear it at all?
Barely.
All right.
communities is that
Try to listen.
we have not yet
I'm
seen
listening to
the
reason.
same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw.
So he's saying they're not seeing the same type of energy and turnout in all quarters that they're used to see.
When I was running.
Said when he was running, because it's always about him, right?
Now, I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers.
Do you hear that? That
can't
seems
understand
more
it.
pronounced with the brothers. In other words, what he's trying to tell them is black men are voting for Trump. They're not voting for Kamala. So
if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all.
I'm going to speak to y'all. You know, Harvard be damned. I'm going to speak to y'all.
And
Yeah, isn't he from like Connecticut or something?
Yeah. I get the joke. Yeah, people might not know this, but his social security number stipulates that he was born in Connecticut. And that same social security number was used by like 50 other people at the same address in Hawaii. Isn't that weird? Yeah, and he's never been able to answer it.
That the whole birther thing is lost a bit on me because his mother was a U.S. citizen.
I said that from the beginning. I said, well, he was born. Well, we know he was born over there because his grandmother, Nana Sarah, said so. And that's when the campaign said, shut the fuck up. Right. And you never saw any press go near her again. Right. In Kenya.
Yeah, and then,
she said we were so proud when he was born in my living room. But her. Go ahead.
Yeah, there was something about a long form Hawaiian or a birth certificate, and
yeah, well, what he produced was it was called a certificate of birth, which is not a birth certificate. A certificate of birth, anybody can get that for anyone, and what it's usually used for is when the parents want in the old days, I don't know if they still do, but in the old days, local newspapers would write a little blurb about, so and so had a baby boy, 5 pounds, 6 ounces, whatever. They would do that. Right, and his name is so and so. They would do that, and so that's what the certificate of birth was for. But it was not an official document. It was not. And Dr. Phil Valentine, he did a whole thing on that document. He had forensics experts come in. He proved that like they made shit up in a lot of the boxes that they filled out on the not official certificate of birth. But let's go on.
a choice that is this clear.
He's saying that if you don't know who to vote for on a choice that is this clear, isn't that kind of like saying if you don't know to vote for me or Trump, then you ain't black?
Which was one of the most condescending things that I've heard in a long time.
Biden never said, and they let him get away with it, but because he's a Dem. But think about that. And Charlemagne that God is not. How do I say this without? He's not a racist. He's pretty much down the middle. Okay, he is. If you listen to him, he's a liberal. So
he's a liberal nutbag.
I would never be able to hang out with the guy, but he's not. Well, okay, let me say it this way. It's not that he's down the middle. He's a liberal, but he's not an obnoxious, angry SOB the way like a Stacey Abrams would be. He's like not, tolerable.
He's not a blue-haired Karen.
Right. He's tolerable. And a lot of times, like Van Jones, the communist, right, who worked for this a-hole, this other communist, but until they found out he was a communist and he had to leave the transition team. But Charlemagne, that God, I agree with a lot of what he says. Believe it or not, I've heard a lot of him talk because I thought it was interesting that a guy would call himself that God. I was like, I got to watch this guy, right? And he sits on a throne. You ever see that? It's like a throne inside the studio.
Yeah, I don't watch it.
But he's got other people who are there who are racist AF, right? But I don't think he is. He's very pro-black, but in my world, that doesn't make you a racist. If you're very pro-black, okay? You can be very pro-black. And that doesn't make you a racist.
Unless you're pro-white, then you're a racist.
Well, then you're a racist. Yeah, but if you're black and you're pro-black, that's, I have no problem with that. As long as you're not saying, I'm very pro-black, you white devil. All right, then fuck you. But I don't have a problem with that. And that's what he is. That's what Charlemagne that God is. He's very pro-black, which is fine by me. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't.
You can promote who you want. And if you feel that's a kinship that you want to promote, go for it.
Yeah, it's exactly how I feel. But let's finish this up. Ready?
When on the one hand you have...
Oh, yeah. So I'm sorry. So he said, this is such a clear choice. Yeah. To us, it really is.
I mean, I was thinking that it really is.
Yeah, we have a guy who sent out mean tweets that I'm going to say were pretty much 99% justified. Okay, in my book they were, because he's a return hitter, right? And he hits harder. He's from Queens, for God's sake. So you have one guy that, all right, you might not like his mean tweets, but damn, you had a thick wallet, you had a job, maybe two, right? The border was closed.
And you had someone that could articulate cogent thoughts.
There you go. And I mean, he lowered your taxes. I don't give a shit what the Democrats say. If you paid taxes, you got a tax cut. Okay. So he lowered the taxes, right? He did reform on the tax laws, right? Now he's saying he's going to reform it again, which I think would just be spectacular. Some of the things I'm hearing. And then you have a woman who has never done anything but stick her ass in the air for a job. So let's hear what Barry has to say.
Somebody who grew up like him.
See, he had to pause. So on the one side, we have somebody who grew up like you. No, she didn't.
Knows you.
There you go.
Went to college with you. Understands the struggles.
Understands this. She grew up in a middle-class family, but it was like an upper middle. Both parents were college professors.
Upper class Indian family.
Yeah, well, her family was, the Irish part of her family were all slave owners. So they had
the dad wasn't around. The dad left.
Right. But her family still was wealthy from that. 1,200 slaves. You never hear her talk about that. Everybody has a slave in my family.
She and her sister were brought up by her mother.
Yeah.
And
the grandmother was the white lady that they dismissed. And she died 4 years before Kamala was born. And the woman in that picture, according to Candace Owens' research, was her great-grandmother. But they said it was her. She said in her book, Kamala called her grandmother. It was not her grandmother. It was her great-grandmother.
We don't know that that's her grandmother for sure.
We don't know if that's her great-grandmother either, because she made up a lot of shit.
And then there's the whole thing, like you had on that one video with Candace.
Yeah.
That from her father, she's got Irish slaver lineage.
Yeah, the Finnegans. Yeah, they owned 1,200 slaves.
Yeah. So there was I think, if I remember correctly, like at least two great grandfathers were Irish slavers.
Oh yeah, both of them were, the Browns and the Finnegans.
Yeah.
And I would like to make this statement that Kamala's family had 1,200 more slaves than the Trump family. They never had any slaves. But Kamala's family did. If we're going to play that game, let's play.
It's like when Elon showed up to Twitter the first day after he bought it.
Yeah.
And he walked in with his kitchen sink.
Yep.
Let that sink in.
Yeah. I remember that. And he let go like 70% of the staff and said, you know what? It's really funny that you can still run Twitter with 70% less staff.
Yep.
So here we go.
I want to see Trump get in and have appoint Elon on the head of the panel on government efficiency, and they can have as a consultant Javier Milei.
Yeah, that would be great, but Elon would never take the pay cut. Plus, he's too busy.
Well,
I don't know how the hell he has time to tweet. He's running all these businesses. Let me finish up with Barry.
And joy that comes from those experiences.
In other words, he's playing the race card here.
Yeah.
She's not a black American, but he's playing the race card with these guys. This is despicable. He said the problem is with the brothers. In other words, yo, she's a woman of color. You're supposed to vote for her because of her skin color. Bigot. I mean, that's literally what he's saying. Is he not?
And if you said that in any other context, you would be castigated beyond belief. I still like the name Kay
Hey,
Mala.
Sensum, how you doing? Sorry. Sensum, how you doing? Good to see you, man.
Yeah, I still like the name Kay Mala. I didn't get that up. I didn't make that up. Somebody called her Kay Mala. You know what Kay Mala? Kay Mala means how bad.
Yeah, I'd heard that. I had read that. Somebody sent that to me. I read it. Yeah. Let me finish this.
He said to work harder and do more.
I had to work harder. Kamala hasn't worked hard a day in her life.
And overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land.
And that was it. Let me say this. My impression of all that, the Democrats are terrified. They're in panic mode. They are friggin' terrified of what's going on. They send the big guns out. Remember, Barack is their Ronald Reagan. He shits ice cream and rainbows.
Like I said, right now we're in George Orwell's 1984. I want to see a 1984 election map. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
And do you remember the time when Obama was still in office, and all of a sudden, I forget which.
It is funny.
Some news agency used his full name, Barack Hussein Obama.
Right.
And they got criticized.
They went
you can't
nuts.
say that. That's his name.
Mark Levin.
You can't say that.
Mark Levin for years referred to him as Barack Hussein Milhouse Benito Obama. Yep. He did it every night, too. There you go. What's up, Evan? The answer to 1984 is 1776. Right on. Yeah, she paid her dues in the bedroom. Yeah, she raised her ass and said, elect me. Dude, guys, when I'm reading on a page, I can't see the chat. I got to get a second monitor here. I can't see the chat.
That's why I have my phone out here so I can see the chats.
Yeah.
You got to wonder, Kamala, I mean, I swear she could probably suck a golf ball through a garden hose, man.
There you go. She could. But would you want to be the garden hose?
Would I really want to be close to that?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. There we go.
I mean, it's like you have trouble with your diet. Just think of Nancy Pelosi naked.
Oh, dude, why did you do that to me? Oh, no. No. Let's see. I want to see if I can get another decent story. So let's go. Oh, yeah, here we go. Here's one. Another New York Post. Diddy's A-list pals quietly paying off victims to avoid being publicly named, according to a lawyer. Some big name celebrities are quietly paying off victims to avoid being publicly named in lawsuits related to the Diddy sexual assault case, according to a lawyer. Attorney, they said his name. Attorney Tony Budsby, of course that's his name, who is representing more than 120 of Sean Diddy Combs' alleged victims, told TMZ that huge stars are about to be sued by his firm, and he's giving them a chance to settle up before the claims hit public court. You gotta love that angle. Hey man, I'm gonna sue the shit out of you, so why don't you pay him now and avoid the rush? Some celebrities have opted to settle, he said. In every single case, especially cases like this, because it's in the best interest of the victim, we attempt to resolve these matters without the filing of a public lawsuit. And we've done that already with a handful of individuals. Yeah, because they don't want to be put on the stage. So what did he do next with that candelabra? I mean, think about it. Let's see, a handful of individuals, many of which you've heard before, according to a report by the Daily Mail. The Bad Boy Records founder was arrested in the criminal sexual trafficking last month. He's pleaded not guilty. How did he plead not guilty? Busby will separately be lodging a slew of lawsuits. Pink tie, okay, including on behalf of 25 minors. Oh, minors. Beginning this month. He has first sent out demand letters notifying others who will be sued in addition to Combs. In fact, Busby said he'll be aggressively going after anyone who saw the alleged abuse occurring and failed to act to protect victims. Well, if they're children, yeah, you got a case there, but I don't know about the adults. I mean, are you obligated to do that? I mean, maybe it depends on the jurisdiction. If you were there in the room, if you participated, yeah. Participated, if you watched it, yeah. If you were just happening, but where's the bath? Holy shit, yeah. I don't think you can hold that. Watched it happen and didn't say anything or helped cover it up. In my view, you have a problem. Well, of course, it's your view because you're a lawyer. A lot of people saw this activity going on. A lot of people allowed it to go on, said nothing, didn't intervene. All these individuals and entities have exposure. He's right there. Yeah, if you're there to participate, even if you didn't participate, but you were invited, you're standing around, yeah, look at that ass, I mean, if you're doing that, yeah, I think you have some culpability. But again, it depends on the jurisdiction. But the unveiling of notable names won't start coming out this week, Busby said. Of course not. He has to stretch this to get more money. Everyone is focused on what other celebrities were involved, who was going to be. Isn't that a bitch? People only care about this, about the victims, because the celebrities would make real good gossip on TMZ. Everyone is focused on what other celebrities were involved, who is going to be named, who is going to be outed. I don't expect that to happen this week, he said. We want to make sure if we name individuals beyond Mr. Combs that we have done our homework, because our due diligence, because it is going to create a firestorm, and we understand that. Combs, 54, has been behind bars since September 16 arrest on allegations he forced women to participate in drug-fueled freak-off sex sessions with male prostitutes that sometimes lasted days long. He had those kits. The feds claim Combs carried out the abuse for more than a decade. Can you imagine? More than a decade getting away with this shit, often using violence or threats of violence to get his alleged victims to comply with his twisted wishes. So it sounds like, Dr. Jade, we're going to be hearing some names coming soon.
I certainly hope so.
That's great.
But, I'm not sure this is going to be too far from the
Epstein shit.
Epstein list, which oddly enough, we haven't seen yet, have we?
I know, we still haven't. I don't think we ever will. If we do, it'll have names on it of people you're like, who the hell is that? Oh, he's the head of Citizens Bank. And it's like, what? What the hell was he doing there? That kind of stuff.
If we do, it'll be 50 years after they're all dead.
Yep.
It'll come out at some point, but it'll be,
You've been to a few mental parties? Hey, what's up, Lou? I didn't know you were here. That sounds like an oxymoron, like jumbo shrimp. male prostitutes. Okay, that's kind of funny. They bragged about the parties. It's not hard to figure out who was there. Yeah, it is. Hey, Vamps, what's up, man? Good to see you, too. Lou, did you get my message about that band? They canceled. Oh, they canceled, bro. Yeah, they ain't playing. It was a scheduling conflict. Yikes.
You having tangential conversations here, Rich?
Yeah, it's with Lou in the chat.
Yep.
We were supposed to go somewhere tomorrow night, but the band, it was a Rush. It was a Rush tribute band, and they're really good, and they have a lot of production value and all that. Because he and I were big Rush fans years back, but the band, yeah, for tomorrow, they're not going to be there. They sent a message out on, I think it was on Facebook. I sent it to you. I actually IM'd it to you through Facebook. That they said that they had a scheduling conflict and something else, and that they're sorry they just couldn't do it. So, yeah, no, I wanted to see them. Let me go back to another. See what we got. Raw egg Nationals, 2,000 Florida gas stations. Yep, run out of fuel. Afghan refugee charge. No, executed. Oh, here's one. I don't know how long this is going to be. Now, you guys know about Yuri Bezmenov, right? But here's one you might not have seen. Yuri Bezmenov, agent, ex-KGB agent, explains how to destroy a society without firing a single shot. Now, how long is that?
Unions, and finally we have law and order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have religion, we have education,
watch this.
We have social life, we have power structure, we have labor relations, unions, and finally we have law and order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? These are the areas of application of subversion. What it means exactly? In case of religion, destroy it, ridicule it, replace it with various sects, cults, which bring people's attention, faith, whether it is naive, primitive, doesn't really matter. As long as the basically accepted religious dogma is being slowly eroded and taken away from the supreme purpose of religion, to keep people in touch with the supreme being, that serves the purpose. Therefore, replace it, accept it, respect it.
I'm sorry, but there's a lot more to religion. I mean, in religion, like Jeremiah, help me out here. In every society has religion, and you don't have to be, you can be an atheist all you want. I don't really care. But religion is what, when it's like a large religion, like in the United States, most people are still Christian, and it brings mores, folkways, literature, art, you name it. It brings that. And there was an interview with Tucker and Elon. I don't know how many people saw it, but he was talking about it. Like Tucker said to him, what about religion and all that? And he said, well, Elon considers himself a cultural Christian. And that's a word that a lot of people are using now, which means that, and he said, do you believe in a higher being? And he goes, well, yeah. He goes, but I don't know what it is. So he wouldn't say that there's a God, but, I'll take that for now, But he said, I just don't know what it is yet. But then Elon went on to say something which I thought was pretty profound. I thought it was really smart for someone who's just a cultural Christian. But he said, I'll just get down to the nitty gritty. And he's right, what he said. He said, look, when you remove religion from a society, and you get China, where people don't really give a shit about each other anymore. But he said, when you remove religion in the United States, which they did, he said, and so he said, there comes a void that needs to be filled. And as of late, in the modernity of our times, what filled that void? And he said it was the woke mind virus. Is he not right? The woke mind virus is what filled the void of taking God out of everything. And the liberals did a very good job at that, right? So he said they will never admit it. But the wokeness is their religion, because they they will argue with you. They will argue with you like an evangelical will argue with you if you trash his religion. They will stick to their guns. They will not, which I think the evangelicals are fine doing it because there's objective truth. But what he's saying is that it is their religion, even though they say there's no religion. There should be no religion, but that is their religion. And it is. Now, I called it the woke supremacy. And because I read a book that was fantastic by a comedian, and it was called The Woke Supremacy. And he posits the idea that every single time we had a serious thing in the world, like, for example, let's do, who was it? The Soviet Union, okay? Every single supremacy that was out there that was ever created throughout history had what we will call the one. Now, that everybody had to emulate and look up to, right? Now, who in the Soviets, who was the one? It was the worker, right? Worker's paradise, right? Everybody has a job or you die. Everybody has a job, right? The worker. And you had and they had the hammer and the sickle, and they had the guy in the overalls, right? And he was out there working the tractor, whatever the hell he had, right? And he was working the fields, and he was doing it for the people, for the good, for the collective, right? And that was the one. And then you had the Nazis. And who was their one? They had a supremacy as well. Who was their one? It was the Aryan, right? The Aryan, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, perfect human being, right? So he was their one, and everybody had to live up to that. And if you did not live up to the one in all these societies that had this, that went through this shit, right? If you did not live up to that, you were cast out. See, and in those days, today they do censorship by cutting you off social media. In those days, they did censorship too, but what they did is they either threw you in a gulag prison or they killed you, right? So today, who is the one according to the left-wing supremacy? It's the woke. And so you're in the woke supremacy. They do not tolerate anyone going against anything they say. And who was the one? I can't remember her name. The woman that wrote the Harry Potter series. The hell was her name, Jade?
Oh,
Can't remember. Anyway,
yeah, I know it. I know it.
Jay
Come on,
Rowland,
people, help us out.
Jay something Rowland,
us out.
whatever. Anyway, she was a good little woke supremacist. Okay, she was one of the high priests too, because I mean, look at her achievements, right? First author to make $1 billion from writing books. I believe she was it, right? So the fact of the matter is that she was J.K. Rowling. I said Rowling. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling. And she was up there, man. She was one of the high priestesses, right? Until what? Until she came out against the whole trans idea, saying that no, there's two genders, there's male and female, and they booted her ass right out of the supremacy because they accept, and then they trashed her. They boycotted the books, all that bullshit, but she doesn't really care. But all because she disagreed with one thing. The thousands of other things that are Looney Tunes, right? She went along with. But the one thing she didn't, and boom, you're out. No forgiveness. None. And the point of it was that whenever you have a supremacy like that, these people they're vicious. They're militaristic. You do not bend. You must adhere to the supremacy. I mean, you have to, or else. And that's who we're up against here, guys.
Yeah, I like the way Trump put it because, the first thing is you have to admit that we don't know everything about everything. And as soon as you admit that, it opens up a wide range of possibilities.
Oh, yeah.
And, if you don't know everything about everything, then maybe there is something. And the interesting thing is once you make it to that point, you're just defining what the something is, and you can, various religions call it various things. You go to AA now and they call it a higher power.
Yep.
But, who are we to know the mind of God?
Right.
So the fact is, if I'm sitting here, it's kind of what I believe is, yeah, there is something. I don't know what it is. And I think for us to understand it, we would have to have a more sophisticated mind than we do.
Yep.
And I think if you think along that road, you're probably closer to the truth than you are to people who try and define it and put it down, pin it down.
Oh yeah. If you guys want to get the book, look for The Woke Supremacy and Anti-Socialist Manifesto by Evan Sayet. He's a comedian, very funny. I heard about this guy through a guy, Terry Littlepage, who was the guy who he used to manage David Harris Jr.'s servers when I was writing for David. And he used to have, he's the guy, you probably heard the story, but you don't know who the guy was. It's this guy. He had 150 Facebook pages, believe it or not. And it was a business. He was making like $2 million a year doing it. And it was the same business model I was using, which was, we write our stories on our website, and then we post them on Facebook, and our people that follow us, they come in, they read the story, and then they click on ads and whatnot, and you make money. So he was doing that, and he had very popular sites. There was like 150 of them. And one day, Zuckerberg just shut down all 150. He had like 30 people working for him that he was paying salaries, and they just shut it all down because
didn't like something he said.
2016 was coming up. I believe it was 2016 election, and that's when they started purging anything conservative, right? So they wanted Hillary. So they shut him down, and he never forgot it. I wouldn't either. They shut me down too. 98% censorship, even though.
So I have a question for you. This is the real problem. When did things transition from live and let live? I'll be me, you be you, which,
I know when it happened.
Going back, let me finish. Going back, you had to comply, and the priest told you what to think and what to do and what to say, and then then we got to be a little freer, and everybody got to do their own thing, and maybe found that they didn't have to listen to the priest who was diddling little boys most of the time anyway. And when did that transition that I'm going to do my thing, but you have to not only approve, but do it too?
Right.
So when did we get to like your life has to be my life? No.
Under Barack Obama.
Is that when it transitioned? Because you know what?
Look,
I'm live and let live. You want to do what you want to do.
Right.
You be you, baby, but don't expect
Barack
me to
Obama
be you.
was the one. Barack Obama was the one that buttered up America, getting them ready for the trans. Remember, he said, in 48 hours, we're going to transform America. Right? Wasn't that what he said? We're going to transform America. Or what was the word he used? We're going to, I think he said transform America. And the joke was, would you ever go up to your wife and go, honey, I love you so much. I just want to transform you into something else. You'd be sleeping on the couch. Yeah, Islam, I'll tell you this, man. I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. I don't give a shit. Islam, I don't believe is a religion. I just don't. I think it's a totalitarian system.
It's a death cult.
And let me give you my top justification for saying that. Because the majority of religions out there, I think all of them except Islam, I can't think of any others. And I read a book, Why So Many Religions, and it covered like 500 religions. And they all, the premise of every religion is basically to, like with Christianity, it is to live like Jesus, to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, to be like him, to love him, to have him love you, to have a relationship. Okay. And it makes you a better person doing that. Jeremiah, back me up tell me if I'm wrong. And so the same thing with Judaism, right? Your relationship with God and all that. And it's about you, right? Your relationship, personal relationship with your God. Okay. But then you have Islam that comes along, and the number one thing is not your relationship with Allah. What is it? It's a supremacy. It is your devotion to Islam.
Islam, it is a religion. It's a death cult religion.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a death cult.
Well, they admitted it. They said we love death as much as the Jews love life. They said that.
I mean, listen, anybody that teaches you that if you die killing an infidel, you're going to go straight to Allah.
Muslim is a person who practices Islam. Islam is the religion.
Yeah.
It's like Hindu and you get it. But yeah, so you're right. Absolutely right. But I think it's because I read this woman did she did a paper, it was a white paper on it, and I'll never forget that, where she said that the premise of Islam is you have to be loyal to Islam, to the religion, not to God, your family, and all. It's Islam. And you know how
they do preach Allah.
Oh yeah, of course.
They do preach Allah, but you
of
have
course,
to be,
but then again,
you have to be blindly faithful to.
But it's to Islam. You have to be blindly faithful to Islam.
Yeah, you're blindly faithful to Allah by sticking to the literal words of the Quran.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to trash it right now, but because there's a lot of people I know who are Muslims and they're very nice people, and I don't want to do that. But I do know that is the basic difference. And when I say, I probably did enough damage, but when I say that Islam is not a religion, it's because of that aspect of it. And let me put it this way: it's not a religion like any other religion. And when they and I know this for a fact too, because I read number 2's book, Bin Laden's number 2, who was a medical doctor, and he said, everybody asked us, why we do this, so I figured I'd write a book, and I read it, and basically, it's a totalitarian system that is used to take over the world. Now, I'm reading a book now. It's called "Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Jew?" Okay, and if my brother's still here, close your ears, Jimmy, because I'm going to buy him the paperback version for Christmas. Because my brother's an anti-Semite, he hates Jews, and everybody thought that I did too because he's my brother, but no, we're like night and day, and oil and water. But I'm reading it now, and basically what it is by Rabbi Shu, and he said he wrote pretty much the premise of it is why he answers the question, why do so many people in the world hate the Jews? Like, why? What is the reason? Because he said he grew up in Canada and his family was Jewish, and he had another friend who was Jewish, but he never thought of himself as Jewish, right? He didn't think he wasn't religious in any sense of the word, and he never thought of himself as being a Jew or anything like that. And he hung out with everybody else at school. He played, the games, he was on sports teams and all that. And he hung with guys, drank with them, smoked weed with them, all kinds of shit. And everything was fine until one day, one of the guys found out he was Jewish. And he said, it was the first time I ever got into a fist fight. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you don't trust him. That means you hate him, Jim. You hate someone you don't trust. Trust me. So the fact of the matter is, so Jimmy from Philly is still alive on the chat, guys. So he said that the guy was giving him a hard time, and he said to him, dude, like, what is your problem? I don't even think of myself that way. And he said, I just never did. My parents never pushed me to. I just never did. I do the same thing you guys do. And he said he got into the guy started a fist fight with him. And he said he had a black guy. He gave the kid, busted lip or whatever. And he and his friend left, and he couldn't hang out with them anymore. And he was like, what the fuck? What did I do? Right. Just for being a Jew, he's just being all Jewish. Right. So he said he's still at that point in his life. He was a teenager, and he still didn't want to get into it and all that. But he had an older brother, and he and his older brother were very competitive. And a couple of years later, his older brother started going through a school It wasn't to become a rabbi, but it was to do something else in the church. And so he figured I got to beat him. So he just went on to become a rabbi. So let's see. Hold on. Why is being rich a reason to hate someone? Trump, Musk are rich. Do you hate them? No. That's a good one. Yeah, because see, the thing that I find a lot of the guys that hate Jews, don't trust them, that hate them, is because they think that all Jews are filthy rich. And it's just so not true. The overwhelming majority of Jewish people in the world are dirt poor, absolutely dirt poor. The overwhelming majority. A lot of them are very successful.
We need to redirect this. We need to redirect this.
The chat?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Why is it bothering you?
It's it's just not going to get any. No good can come from this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I have this. Well, see, the reason I brought it up is because there were a lot of people that did not like Jews that were in the chat, that were watching videos, reading my stuff and all that. And I just never saw it that way. I always looked at Israel as the little United States. How many countries Jews were kicked out of? Yeah, all of them, Jim. But I just always looked at them like they were the United States. I'm going to get you the book for Christmas, Jim, and you'll read it. Maybe you'll start to understand. Yeah, let's go to the next story. Let's see.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. It's never a good topic, but I still have my beliefs.
Yeah, we could talk about all kinds of people that have been picked on. Let's just move on.
Here's one that this handsome devil wrote the story. Yeah. The 65 Project, the evil dark money group you never heard of, warns lawyers before the election. Represent Trump, risk your career. Look at this. I have the magnet on the pen. I did originally when I created this. I had little swastikas here, and here, but I took them off. The 65 Project, a dark money leftist organization, is back at it again, setting its crosshairs on the attorneys representing former President Donald Trump. What's their mission? To scare off any lawyers brave enough to defend Trump's legal rights. Up until about 5 minutes ago, a lawyer's job was to represent their client rigorously. Rudy Giuliani was disbarred for doing that when he tried to uphold election integrity after the 2020 election was stolen. Known for their relentless pursuit of lawyers connected to Trump's 2020 election challenges, they're now leveling threats against any prospective lawyers who might consider joining Trump's legal team. And what's their not so subtle warning? Join Trump's legal team, you could end up disbarred. The message is straightforward and chilling. Don't let partisan politics endanger your standing with the bar. The Porter Wright partners face ethics complaints over Trump campaign post-election work. Don't risk your law license by joining an effort to subvert democracy. See, Trump, I don't get this. He tried to overturn the election. No, he tried to prove that it was stolen from. That's a big difference. He was pushing for election integrity. He wanted people to look at the machines and to look at the evidence that was presented that the ballots were screwed. The ballot, I mean, a lot of those hundreds of thousands of ballots in all the different key battleground states were Xerox copies. And he wanted to prove it. And they say he's trying to overturn it. No, he won the election. He wanted to prove it. That's all. And he had a constitutional right to do it. And you know, in the old days, like, think about it. Hillary Clinton represented a pedophile who was accused of attacking children, right? Sexually assaulting children and all that. And she was talking about it years later, and she was laughing about it. She was laughing about it, but she had to, as a lawyer, I think it was the Rose Law Firm she was working for, she had to rigorously defend that client. She didn't have to laugh about it later, but I don't hold her against it. And I can't stand Hillary. I don't hold her against it. She was a lawyer. She was representing her client. And that's the way it's always been.
Diddy has lawyers.
Yeah, exactly. We and the public are watching, the post said on Instagram. I wrote my response. You guys don't want to hear it. Think about that for a moment. It's not even a cautionary tale. It's an out-and-out threat designed to strike fear into the hearts of any legal professionals who might consider standing up for Trump. This specific warning refers to Porter Wright, a law firm that represented Trump during his post-election litigation in Pennsylvania back in 2020. As the pressure mounted, the firm's attorneys, Ronald Hicks and Carolyn McGee, withdrew just days after the November election. Many described their sudden exit as a capitulation to a relentless intimidation campaign. See, the people that are the Democrats don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. They don't want to talk about Zucker spending money to bribe judges in Philadelphia at the municipal level to not accept any cases. You know, and he had to do it at the other battleground states. He spent $400 million and didn't spend it all here. So it says, and guess who filed those so-called ethics complaints against Hicks and McGee? That's right, the 65 Project themselves. In 2022, after the attorneys had already stepped away from Trump's case, the group decided to pile on even more, filing complaints against both lawyers. What's more baffling is that the Pennsylvania Office of Disciplinary Counsel hasn't taken any disciplinary action against them. One might wonder if the whole thing was a scare tactic, pure and simple. And I think that's what it was. So who's behind Project or the 65 Project? The 65 Project got its start with little help from David Brock. Does anybody remember who he is? David Brock was a guy who wrote the book, The Real Anita Hill. Okay. When it was the first serious attack against Clarence Thomas, when it was during his nomination hearings, right? If you think what they did to Kavanaugh was bad, Anita Hill came forward and said that he didn't sexually assault her, but he did sexual innuendos all the time. Here, Anita worked for him, okay, for years. So if she felt uncomfortable, why didn't she ever say anything, and why didn't she leave? But and I mean, prior to that, she had nothing but good things to say about him. Okay, well, in The Real Anita Hill, Brock actually proved that she didn't want to go forward with her complaints. But she had told her girlfriend, yeah, well, you know, one time he made this little innuendo joke, and I thought, oh, wow, that made me uncomfortable. But nothing else ever happened. Right now, that happens all the time. It doesn't mean you're a pervert, and it doesn't mean it's years of assault and abuse and all. Not at all. In fact, she loved working for him. However, the girlfriend then told all kinds of other people, and it finally got to somebody that had a big mouth. And next thing you know, this organization, a feminist organization, outed Anita without her permission and said, oh, yeah, the longtime employee of Clarence Thomas. I think he worked at the EEOC as a judge at the EEOC for a long time. I could be wrong, but she followed him to different jobs, as a matter of fact. When he got promoted, she followed him, right? So Brock proved that Anita, she lied because her so-called friends, some friends, they outed her and pretty much forced her into the spotlight, right? Well, then Brock, after that, caught so much shit from the left that he became a leftist. You know, you can't beat him, join him. And he created, I think it's called Media Matters. He's the guy behind Media Matters. And so he's a lunatic, too. He's a left-wing Looney Tunes lunatic. And he's also involved with this the 65 Project. So that was a little sidebar there. So I said the 65 Project got its start with a little help from David Brock, a close ally of Hillary Clinton, and the same guy behind organizations like Media Matters. I got into, he wrote The Real Anita Hill, exposed the libnuts. That then they don't disclose their donors, shocker. But as Axios found in an investigation, they have ties to Democratic Party heavyweights. This group is loaded, well-connected, and laser-focused on keeping Trump legally cornered, using every trick in the book, from filing complaints and releasing ominous ads to publicizing vague ethical concerns. I consider this election interference. I mean, I do. I consider it. I think it's terroristic threats as well. They're think about it. You're a lawyer. You went through all those years. Then you went through law school. Then you had to, work as some, guy doing just briefs and all. Then you work your way up, right? Or you get your own law firm. All the money you got to put out for that. You know how that's, what that's like, having your own business, Jade. But and then all of a sudden you got these clowns that come along and go, hey, you know how you're supposed to rigorously defend your client? Well, you do that and you're going to lose it all. So I think that is private sector lawfare. That's what I but let's be real.
They're threatening people.
Yeah.
And, it just proves the truth of the old story, where Satan was doing his thing and he was stealing some souls from God. So God goes over to Satan. He says, you better make good on those souls or I'm going to sue. Satan says to him, yeah, where are you going to find a lawyer?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. A lot of good lawyer jokes out there too. So let's see, but let's be real. Their objective goes way beyond holding attorneys accountable. The 65 Project's ongoing efforts to prosecute, disbar, and smear attorneys who served as election lawyers for President Donald Trump's 2020 campaign could leave Republicans short of legal talent for the election fight in November 2024. You read that right. This isn't about upholding justice. It's about crippling Trump's legal support and sabotaging the GOP's election strategy. I remember seeing, what was her name? Jessica. Ooh, I forget her name, but she was, I mean, all the lawyers had to, they had to, in Georgia, they had to admit they did wrong, which they didn't. They did nothing wrong. Okay. The one girl was crying. They made deals, and later on it was said, you dumbasses, you should have held out because they were never going to charge you. They were never going to take your case to court because they knew they would lose. But when you're told, by the district attorney, by the district attorney that, we're going to prosecute you and then we're going to disbar you. We're going to have you disbarred and you're never going to work in your profession again and your name is going to be sullied. So give us the goods on Trump.
Yeah,
That's what they did.
And the thing is, they may know that they would win if they stood their ground, but winning is as good as losing because they can drag this through the courts for years.
Drag your name through the mud.
In the meantime, you're 6 years where you can't practice.
Exactly. So here you go.
You're 6 to 10 years where you can't exercise, your profession, and what does that do to you? Yeah. You may as well you win in the end, and now where are you?
Right. So here we go. Ready? A little reality time. The American Bar Association's model rules of professional conduct state that a lawyer should use the law's procedures only for legitimate purposes and not to harass or intimidate others. Seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? Yet, the 65 Project claims they're merely trying to uphold ethical standards. Bullshit. But when you look at their actual behavior, it's more like a campaign to bully legal professionals into submission and keep them from providing representation to their clients. That's exactly what's going on. And I wrote, let's not forget the constitutional dimension here. The 6th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution guarantees the right to have the assistance of counsel in criminal proceedings. Trump is currently facing several criminal charges, making this right even more crucial. So are lawyers willing to step up and defend him, or will they be scared off by the 65 Project's blatant intimidation tactics? In other words, if Trump has all this lawfare going against him, he's going to have a hard time finding lawyers. And I remember when he was down in Florida, all the libnuts were laughing about that on social media. Oh, no lawyers want to join them. Yeah, because you guys are threatening them with disbarment. That's why. I can't stand the libnuts. With the 2024 presidential election looming, the 65 Project shenanigans could be far-reaching consequences. If they scare off enough lawyers, Trump's current legal battles and his ability to form an effective legal strategy could be severely impacted. And the libtards are going, yeah, they just friggin' love this stuff. They don't give a shit unless it happens to them. Then it's all evil, right? This is about more than just one man's defense. It's about his entire campaign's viability in the face of potential election disputes, right? So if they cheat again and he has evidence of it, no lawyer's going to step up for him. 65 Project's targeting could frighten away lawyers with the talent to do the job for election integrity, leaving Republicans in the wind when it comes to a legal fight in November. Now, remember, Trump never said, from me. He always said they stole the election. This should never happen to another president. He always said that. He tried to overturn the election. No, he wanted this to never happen again. It's a foregone conclusion, guys. We know they stole it. All right. I always point it out. Here's the evidence.com. Just go there and spend 8 days reading all the evidence. If this group manages to pull that off, it'll not only make it harder for the GOP to challenge election results, but it could also significantly alter the legal landscape for future politically charged cases. And let's think bigger here. If lawyers begin to see politically charged cases as career suicide, we might be looking at a much larger problem. Attorneys could become reluctant to take on any case with political ramifications, regardless of their personal beliefs. Now, I wrote to Stephen Miller's, what is he? Oh, damn. Hang on. I got to look this up. I wrote to him today as I wrote that article. Stephen Miller. Let's see. Yeah, he does the American Legal. What is it? Oh, he has a law firm that defends people who are screwed over by the government with lawfare, right? So I wrote to him and I said, you might want to look at, the 65 Project for what they're doing to the legal profession. And I know, what do you call 65 lawyers that go in a bus that go over the cliff? A good start, right?
Start,
yeah, a good start.
I
know all that. Everybody hates lawyers except their own, right?
Yeah, you wonder in a criminal case, my argument would be that this would actually go in your favor, because if you can stand there in front of the judge and say,
see you, Jeremiah, have a good one. I'm listening.
That you've been denied representation, that's unconstitutional. They can't.
I'm sorry.
They maybe can't find you guilty because you have no ability to have representation.
Right. Well, yeah, there's that, but then they'll give you a public defender. They would give you a public defender, and which would do nothing. Yeah. The fact of the matter is that I always said the left, the Democrats, they love a rigged system. Everything they're involved in, they want it to be rigged. I'm not talking about elections. I mean, I am, but not just about elections. Everything in life, they want it to be rigged in their favor. And you think about it, they own academia, they own the news, right? They own books, television, they own everything. Because they like to rig everything. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Jeremiah. I'm up here talking my ass off, and somebody said goodbye to you, and I was like, "Oh shit, he's leaving already."
I think he was saying goodbye to Anglo.
Yeah, he was. I misread that totally. And guys,
since we're throwing stuff out there, everybody, make the effort. Reach down and poke at that like button.
Yeah, thanks, Lou. Yeah. Okay, cool, good. Sorry, man. All right, so we're done that one. So the Democrats are threatening lawyers to not get involved with Trump. Can you believe this? That is lawfare. I think they should be disciplined for that. I mean, they're violating the models of the Bar Association by doing that. All right, I got to clean up some crap.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, Jimmy, were you here? Jimmy, were you here for the Bezmenov video? Not the one that you're used to seeing. It's a different one. Let me see. Because if not, I'll. Oh, thank you, sir. The check's in the mail. What's called? I'll send you the link to it, Jim. Well, in fact, it's on. Just go to jabberhouse.com. It's there. Here we go. Okay, come on, pull it up. Pull it up. Do we want to watch that? Nah, we don't want to watch that. All right, sorry. It was Bill Gates' truly diabolical, sickening, evil human being. But when I went on there, the video was like 28 minutes long. I just never took it down. Here we go. This is good. Okay. So Donald Trump, he gets a twofer on this one. He says on Truth Social, he said, Obama admits a total lack of enthusiasm for Kamala, especially with black men. We played that video earlier. I think Obama will be voting for me because he doesn't like the fact that Kamala is an extremely low IQ person. You just got to love this guy when he put that out. He put it out at 8:30 this morning, my time. I just love that. I just had to share that. Sorry. Let's see. Let's go back to this. Charlemagne that God. Here we go. Charlemagne says Harris-Walz rhetoric seems out of touch compared to Trump's America First message. See, I told you, Charlemagne's not all that bad. The Breakfast Club radio show host Charlemagne that God said Monday that former President Trump's rhetoric about putting America first is a winning strategy. It is. You know why? Because people of any color want America to win. They want them to win. America first means it doesn't mean America alone. Trump said this many times. It means take care of Americans first and then take care of the rest of the world. Right? Now, who would say no to that? Kamala. Charlemagne was discussing the messaging from both presidential tickets, particularly as America navigates crises at home and abroad. After a co-host played a clip of Democratic vice presidential candidate Minnesota Governor Tampon Tim Walz, Charlemagne highlighted one key way in which Democrats are being outperformed by their opponents. Quote, one place where I think they mess up in regards to messaging, Charlemagne asked, you'll listen to a lot of reporters and they'll be talking to Trump or J.D. Vance, and they'll be talking to them about things that are happening right here in America because it's an election season right here in America. So it's always America first. But then when you go to Tim Walz and they're asking him about geopolitical politics, and I think a lot of times that makes them sound, very out of touch. Well, they are very out of touch. That makes them sound very out of touch to what's going on right here in America. Well, they could, one of the best things that Trump did, that Vance does, when they ask you a question, have you stopped beating your wife? I never beat my wife. In the headline, he says he never beat his wife. What they do is they ignore the question and they give an answer that they want to give. That's the only way you'll get past the fake news. And I think that's what he's talking about here, because they'll ask Trump about things inside America. Although I hope he's not trying to say that that's because the media is doing that. They're doing that because that's what Trump and Vance are known for. They're known for trashing the policies of the Harris-Biden administration. Yeah, I said it right. The Harris-Biden administration and the Walz-Harris team are the opposite. They're talking about shit around the rest of the world. Why? Because they can't talk about Kamala's policies and Biden's policies because they're a wreck. They're a train wreck. They're an East Palestine train wreck. They can't do it. So that's what he's getting into. When a co-host noted that these are the questions being asked of the candidates, Charlemagne agreed and said that international issues are being highlighted over what's happening right here in this country. And when you hear, the Vances and Trumps talking about what's happening here at home and saying things like America first and make America great again, that messaging sometimes resonates a lot more. I think it always resonates a lot more. I mean, it just does. He doesn't want to send another $60 billion to Ukraine. Right? Who's gonna really go, yeah, Ukraine, man? He then corrected himself and said, not sometimes, it does resonate a lot more. Exactly. He then noted that as Americans are struggling at home with natural disasters, they have little tolerance for money being sent abroad. Exactly. On Saturday, Harris pledged $157 million in additional assistance to Lebanon for humanitarian reasons, right? Are you shitting me? So 50% chance. Winner of the 50% toss-up. Yeah, I don't believe that. What do you think, Jade?
About what?
About that whole story.
About
the fact that they say that Trump and Vance talk about what's going on right here, right now, but then the other side doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is that, the legacy media is merely the advertising arm of the DNC. Yeah. And so they're always asking them the things that they want to talk about.
Yeah.
As opposed to trying to give zingers to Trump and Vance.
Yeah.
And, to jam them up. So, yeah, I mean, beyond that, it's only a natural. They're populists. They believe in America.
Absolutely. They're nationalist populists. Yeah. Yeah,
And
exactly. And they're not, the others are the Marxists. They care about the world domination.
yeah,
Think
no, they
about it.
care about their own power.
That's exactly correct. World domination.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what they care about.
let me split off from this. Jeremiah, tell me, why do you not like Laura Ingraham? I like her a lot. Did you know that? Have you ever read Life Zet? It's a pro-life news outlet. She owns it. She started it, and they have really good writers there too. I'd like to write for them sometime, but yeah, I like her a lot. Although I love her monologues. What does she call it? The Ingle Angle. That's it. Yeah. But I'd like to know why you don't like her, because maybe she's changed. I haven't watched Fox since they fired Tucker. I used to watch Tucker and Laura, and I didn't really watch it. She seemed like a good person, or just something.
I haven't watched.
Why? Because she's not married and has no kids at her age. Yeah, I know. A lot of people think she's a lesbian because of that. I wouldn't care.
I was going to say, and if she
Don't
is,
give a shit.
and I was going to say, and if she is,
yeah, I know. I don't really care, but a lot of people do complain about that. Why is she not married? Why does she have kids? Because she works. She's like
she made a different
was a talk show host on radio for years. I used to listen to her. Hugh Hewitt too.
Because she made a different decision.
Exactly. She's a little masculine. I don't think so. Run that vid where Tampon Timmy wants to get rid of the electoral. Yeah, it's my wow. Yeah, there's like an unwritten rule that you're a real douche if you play your own video. Yeah. But did you guys watch the video? Did you guys see it? Because I'll play it if you guys want me to. It's where it was today's video about the electoral college.
No, let people go. Let people go get that.
Yeah. Hoot works.
But the short story
She's
is
not a lesbian.
Yeah, the short story is that Harrison Walls would make efforts to dismantle the electoral college.
Oh yeah. Well, the whole point I was trying to make with that was the electoral college. They want to do that because they want the popular vote, and if the popular vote goes, then that means that New York, California, and Illinois will lose a lesbian trapped in a man's body. It means that those three states pretty much would decide who gets to be president. Okay.
Well, and I think you and I have talked about this before. There's actually efforts at the state level.
Oh yeah.
In a few states that basically say they're trying to change the state constitution and electoral laws that they would give their electoral votes to whoever wins the popular vote, which would end up doing the same thing. So it's a way around the Constitution.
One of the arguments they make is that, well, when you run for governor, that's the popular vote. Yeah, because it's a state. It's a state. You have one population that you're talking about, moron. When you're talking about all the states, you want the smaller states to have skin in the game, right? Yeah, it would end up being mob rule. It would be democracy, right?
That's why we have a Senate and a House.
Well, the Senate is pretty much useless right now because of the 17th Amendment. But I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but
we got two senators. We got two senators from each state.
Right. But what people don't realize is that the 17th Amendment, prior to that, you did not vote for the Senate, for your senators. It was delegates that you did vote for in your state who voted for and selected the senator. Now, the reason why they wanted that is because if your senator went down to Washington, D.C., and he wasn't spending his time to represent your state, he was spending more time to represent the power in D.C., the delegates could go, you know what, we don't like what you're doing. And if you continue doing it, we're going to pull you. Because they could pull a senator and vote for another one. They could do that. But what the libnuts wanted, what the communists wanted, was when the 17th Amendment, they were commies back then. What they wanted was it just like the House, that popular vote inside a state is what does. And why? Because if you think about it now, senators, U.S. senators, are no longer loyal to their state. They're loyal to D.C. That's the problem. And that's a big problem, because if they were loyal to the state, the delegates and the legislature in the states would keep them on their toes and go, oh, buddy, you voted against that. That would have helped Pennsylvania. Did you not read our memos? Because they would control them. But the left, they thought differently, because they wanted power concentrated at the federal.
Senators are still elected by the, the populace of their state. But
right. They shouldn't be. But I'd like to have that repealed, because then you would have senators who once, and they call it the upper chamber. You know why they call it the upper chamber? Seriously? Well, because the senators are no, because when at Independence Hall, on the first floor was the House, and on the second floor, the upper chamber was the Senate. That's why. Seriously. That's the whole reason why. But when you're state representatives, see, the House was supposed to be the fisticuffs, right? You were directly elected by the people. They were supposed to have the fist fights and all that crap, right? By the time it got to the Senate, that was the slowing down period. Hey, guys, you guys were crazy over there. You have fun and all that, but over here, we're going to take this shit seriously, so let's take a look at your bill, right? That's what the Senate was supposed to be for, because the senators were governed by their legislature and the delegates at home that could pull them at any time. And the 17th Amendment got rid of that because the leftists wanted power concentrated in Washington, D.C., which is what we have today. And ever since that 17th Amendment, that's when they usurped all the powers that they have today, which they didn't get through Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution or through an amendment process. So, and I'm talking Social Security, Medicaid, Obamacare, all that bullshit that, according to the Constitution, is unconstitutional. But you can't say that today, because then you're a nut. But it's true. It's not constitutional. You have to go through an amendment process if you want to take a power that does not belong to you. It belongs to the states. Let's see what the next one's going to be. Because we still got a few that are pretty good. Let's see. This one. This is great. I did a story about this. Remember this kid? Remember this story? Yeah. Where he put on the face paint, and it turns out he's Native American too. But Deadspin, they only showed a profile of the black side, saying he was in blackface, right? So it says they lost their bid to toss the defamation suit over article accusing young Chiefs fan of racism. I love this. So a Delaware judge has refused to dismiss a defamation lawsuit against sports website Deadspin over an article accusing a 9-year-old NFL fan and his family of racism because of his game day attire. The lawsuit was filed in California by California residents Raul Armenta Jr. and his wife Shannon on behalf of themselves and their son, Holden, who attended the game between Kansas City Chiefs and Las Vegas Raiders last November. The reason why the judge won't drop it is because it's a child. That's why you can do anything you want to an adult, and you can handle it any other way, but to a child, no. That's why the Covington kid, got all that money. According to the lawsuit, Holden, referred to in the lawsuit as H.A., is a Chiefs fan who also loves his family's Chumash Indian heritage. He wore a Chiefs jersey to the game with his face painted half red and half black, and a costume Native American headdress. Holden got the opportunity to pose with Raiders cheerleaders and was also, I thought he looked pretty good, and was also shown briefly during the television broadcast of the game with his red and black face paint visible. An Associated Press photographer also captured an image of Holden showing both sides of the boy's painted face. However, using a screenshot that showed only the side of Holden's face painted black, Deadspin writer, and this Karen Phillips is a real piece of crap, published an article, because wrote all kinds of other bad articles, the next day accusing the boy of being racist. It's that woke bullshit. Get out of here, AP. Quote, the NFL needs to speak out against Kansas City Chiefs fan in blackface native headdress. And they doubled down. They actually doubled down when they were like, no, the kid was in red and black. That's traditional Chief colors. They're doubling up on racism, a subhead reads. Are you going to say anything, Roger Goodell? Oh, good Lord. In the article, I'm surprised they didn't go out of business, Deadspin. In the article, Phillips wrote that the boy had found a way to hate black people and the Native American at the same time. Now, think about this. That kid's name was drugged through the mud. Okay, so one day he's got to get into a college, or he has to, get a job somewhere. This is why you can't do it to children, because you could destroy their whole life with a lie. He suggested that the boy had been taught hatred by his parents. Yeah, the Native American parent. Okay. Deadspin posted the article on X, generating more than 18,000 comments and a community note. I love the community notes. Thank God for Elon, clarifying its falsity. Phillips described in the Armenta's lawsuit as someone who makes his livelihood through vicious race baiting, nevertheless doubled down. Quote, for the idiots in my mentions who are treating this as some harmless act because the other side of his face was painted red. Do you believe this? I can make the argument that it makes it even worse. Y'all are the ones who hate Mexicans but wear sombreros on Cinco de Mayo. Guy's a bonehead. He just doesn't want to admit that he did something wrong. They finally pulled him. But the Armentas started receiving hateful messages and death threats. Would any of you, raise of hands, would any of you guys ever, throw a death threat on somebody? Just because, what is this? 3 in the chat, Dr. Trade, and 3-hour stream without passing out. Oh, there you go. Cool. We only got a half hour left, and we'll have the 3 hours in. Woohoo! Would any of you guys ever, when this kind of shit happens, do you reach out and find who the person is, where they live, and send a death threat? I don't even know people who would do that. Apparently they do, though.
I would say 2 things. Number one, I wouldn't do that because it's really
unchristian-like, first of all, but
really a horrible thing to do.
Right.
But even if you want to run down that road,
Liquid would do it. All right.
If you want to run down that road, why are you going to make a threat? A threat is just warning your enemies of what you want to do.
Yeah.
Why are you going to help your enemies? You want to do it, do it. But the whole thing just doesn't make any sense, of course.
Oh, I know. Well, we're done with that one. Let's see. Did you guys hear? Okay. Do you remember with the was Lahaina in Malibu, when the guys that wanted to do the smart city, and they went to them and said, we like your land, we want to do a smart city, right? Which is a 15-minute city, all right? And we want to do a smart city, so we want to buy your land and we'll pay you far over what. And they were like, nah, that's okay, we're good. And they didn't realize these people were tribal people prior to the United States coming in, and they have a heritage that goes a long ways back. And they're like, no way, we're giving up land. Land's the only thing they own. So they burned them down. Remember?
Yeah, you said Lahaina. Did you say California? I'm sure you meant to say Hawaii.
I said Hawaii. Yeah, Lahaina, Hawaai.
Okay.
Did I say California? I don't think I said California. It's Lahaina, Hawaii. It was Malibu. It's
Malibu.
Malibu, yeah, but Lahaina. All right, so they burned the place to the ground. But if you remember, all the Oprah's and everybody else's that has the blue paint on the roof, they weren't touched. But they burned them down, and so that they could buy the land at a cheaper price. That's the speculation that's going on. Okay. Well, the same thing was happening in Tampa. So there was a lot of talk about, you heard about the talk about the geospace. What is it called? Geospacing, where they can control the weather and create hurricanes. And it is absolutely true. It is absolutely fucking true. There was an interview. Redacted did the video on it, and it was fantastic. And they had one of the interviews they didn't do, but they got an interview of a woman who was in the Air Force for a lot of years. And what she did was she said that her department, she said, you guys would know it as chemtrails. You remember the whole chemtrail stuff? Mm-hmm. All right. So she said, my department was, she goes, we did, and she talked to aerosol something. I don't know what the hell she said, but she said, that's what we did. And she goes, and then when she said she noticed that when people were starting to talk about the chemtrails was seeding to try to control the weather, she said a lot of debunking went out there. She goes, and when I realized it was my own department that was doing the debunking, she said, I did my own internal investigation and gathered the evidence, and damn, they really did perfect it. She said, and so I gathered my evidence. I became a whistleblower and I quit. She goes, because it violated my oath. When she became an officer, she said it violated my oath to continue to work here under that. And so now she just sued the federal government, and she's got like a couple law firms behind her, and she's suing the government because of what they did. She's accusing them of creating the North Carolina, the Helene. That's what she's accusing them of it.
So are you saying that you believe passenger
engineering,
jets,
that's it.
Are you saying that you believe passenger jets that leave contrails are
No. What I believe is they have it's geoengineering. And in fact, Redacted played John Brennan. Remember the CIA director that spied on Trump's campaign? Played John Brennan in 2018 giving a speech where he was bragging about it. And he explained that see, the way they're getting away with it is they're saying it's to combat climate change, because everything, the magical climate change, it doesn't exist, but everybody wants to say we got to spend billions to fix it, right? So he said that the technology, what they do is the aerosol spraying into the stratosphere of certain chemicals, and that's what the woman from the Air Force said. She goes, I immediately thought, why are we spraying hazardous to human chemicals in our stratosphere? What's going on there? But Brennan was there saying that it was going to combat climate change. But he went further and he said that what they were able to do is lower the temperature, okay, to combat whatever was coming in from the sun and climate change and all that. So the thing was that, all right, and I'm getting to a point, guys. It involves Bill Gates, so hang in there. So what is a hurricane? It's when the different temperatures from the ocean and the cool and the hot and chaos forms, and that sucks everything else in, and that's how you get your hurricane. They're saying that it's a weapon and that they have perfected it, except the only part they perfected was the creation of it, not the direction of it. So in other words, they could create it and have it go into a direction, but like any other hurricane, it could change depending on the environment that it's in at that time. So what I just found out today was that Bill Gates has been wanting to do one of these 15-minute cities in Tampa. He's all ready to go, and he happens to have a patent on geoengineering. The same geoengineering that they believe is causing the hurricane. So a lot of conspiracy theories went around. Hold on, Jim. A lot of conspiracy theories went around saying that they believe that the red portions of North Carolina, Georgia, and the other states, Tennessee and Florida and all that they believe that they hit them with the hurricanes to take out the votes, because the USPS has already said that they ain't delivering to any of those zip codes of all the places where there's no more houses. They're just completely gone. Everything's gone. And all the people there, think of the chaos it's causing. All the people that survived it and got out, well, they're like in Ohio, Pennsylvania. They're in other states with family or friends or whatever. And they're not going back anytime soon, because what is there to go back to right now, right? So, and the election's like a couple weeks. So it's like 3.5 weeks away. So that's what all the conspiracy theories went around to. But you did have the woman in the Air Force who said that, yes, they were using it to control the weather. And when I think control the weather, I think that, they can make it rain one day and sunny the next. No, what they're talking about is they can force a hurricane. And so then you have Brennan, who bragged about it, pretty much bragged about it. And then you have Bill Gates, the evil one. And I make my living off of because of Bill Gates, the Microsoft shit. But and he wants to build a 15-minute city. See, the 15-minute cities, it's like in Hawaii, where they said, hey, we want to buy your land. No, get lost. Okay, we'll just burn you down and get you out of here, and we'll buy the land anyway at a much cheaper rate. And so they're saying that that's what Bill Gates wants to do down in Tampa. I know it sounds crazy. I know, but think about it. The woman, and I looked her up, she's legit. And she resigned, and she became a whistleblower, and she filed a lawsuit. All because of this. I'm on Bill's payroll. Yes, I am. I was married to a woman, Liquid. I was actually married to a woman who was in an office 2 doors down from Steve Ballmer's. So she was out. She worked for Microsoft, and she was out in Redmond. She was at the campus, and she told me here's an interesting little tidbit. She said that every week, Bill Gates would hold a meeting on Fridays in a big conference room, and that the people who were attending were the manager or the guys in charge of the product. So in other words, you had one guy in charge of the Word product. His programmers worked on the Word program, and then the other one is for Excel, and then you had the whole office manager and all the products they had. And she said that every week you would hear Bill screaming bloody murder the entire meeting, and the guys were all shitting their pants. He'd be saying things like, "Who told you that was a good idea? How much money have you wasted developing that? Why do you think a user would want something as stupid as that?" And like they were all shitting themselves. But then every single week at the end of the meeting, when he stood at the door and everybody had to walk past him, he would shake their hand and pat him on the back and go, "Great work, great work." And not a single person got out of there without him doing that. And these are the people that were just shitting themselves. She said it was a crazy environment.
We can't control weather.
Yeah, I didn't think so either, but some other people think we can create a hurricane.
They can make it rain.
Yeah, they already proved that. They can make it rain.
They've already done that.
We can silver nitrate seed clouds and get some rain.
That's controlling the weather.
Nobody ain't
and from
making.
what I understand, they can also produce lightning.
Well, I never heard that, but
ain't nobody making no hurricane, and ain't nobody got enough energy to cook the ocean to the temperatures that it was this year in the El Nino phase.
Said that. Nobody talked about the temperatures of the ocean. Nobody
that's basically where the energy comes from.
Yeah, that's how hurricanes.
Yeah, but no, I'm saying nobody said that part of the geoengineering was.
Yeah, but that's where the energy for a hurricane comes from.
Yeah, I said from the ocean earlier. He was bragging, saying that climate change could lower the temperature by doing this aerosol seeding of some kind of chemical. He didn't mention the chemical though.
Yeah, for rain they use silver nitrate, as far as I know. But basically, if you take a look at the sea surface temperatures in the Atlantic during this past El Nino phase, they were way above normal, and that fuels hurricanes.
Years ago, somebody once asked, "Why do they always name hurricanes after women?" And I said, "Did you ever hear of a hurricane?" All right, next topic. What's up, Jim?
No, well.
Oh, hold on.
Well, why do they?
Hold on, Jim.
Why do they name? Why do they name hurricanes after women? This is going to be off color. Are you okay for this?
I don't care. Don't say the two words that are not allowed to be said.
I'm not saying the two words.
Okay, good. Then you're good to go.
Then why do they name hurricanes after women? Well, because when they come, they're wet and wild, and when they leave, they take your house and your car.
Perfect.
And your child.
Yeah.
So that was a great segue there. So guess who just called me, Richie?
Who?
Carol.
Ooh. What for?
She calls and says, "Is this Jim Welsh?" And I said, "Yes, Carol."
Carol, for everybody in the chat knows, Jade, Carol is his ex, the mother of his daughter, who's a drug addict and a drunk and all that. I don't know what she's doing today, so I don't want to.
So she says, "Is this Jim Welsh?" And I said, "Yes, Carol." And she said, "I was just calling to see if you were still alive." I'm like, "You're drinking again?" She said, "No, I'm not."
Yeah, she is.
"I've been watching my back for 23 years. I'm like, "Oh, so you're afraid of me, but you call me up to try to upset me. Is that what we're doing?
Wow, she really called you?
Yeah. And then she says,
"I have nothing to do with her, Jim." Nothing.
I know. I said, well, she said, I said, "How's Julia doing?" "She doesn't want anything to do with you because you show no interest in her for years. You haven't sent any messages." I said, "Carol, I've sent you countless voicemails. I've sent this child countless." I said, "Carol, look, sober up. Call me the fuck back. Obviously you wanted to talk." No, I had all these phone numbers under Evil Jim Welsh. That's going to be the title of my next video. Evil Jim Welsh.
Okay, I got to jump in.
Okay, go ahead.
Family trials and tribulations. are great. But let's get to the next story.
Yeah, we'll get to the next story. But see, the reason why it's good here is because most of the guys that are in the chat are from Jimmy's channel,
Right.
and they know the whole story. But yeah, Jim, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because we'll get all angry and we'll start yelling about people.
That's a big rabbit
was
hole.
Funny.
All right, ready? Here we go. This is great. Ready? New York Post again. Hochul, the governor, urged to send state troopers to New York City urban crime zone, Roosevelt Avenue. More brothels than bodegas or bodegas. Civic leaders are urging Governor Kathy Hochul to deploy 100 state troopers to help clean up the urban crime zone of Roosevelt Avenue. So these a-holes, so they bring in a shitload of illegals. They kill the bail laws, right? They let people out on the street. What do they expect? Holy cow, what do they expect? The squalid stretch in Queens that's been overrun with brothels, illegal vendors, and crime. Quote, it's an urban crime zone, and as a result, we have more brothels than bodegas. The leaders of the group, let's improve Roosevelt Avenue. That's a real thoughtful name. Said in a letter to Hochul on Tuesday. Group leaders said that NYPD's 100th and 115th. You know what I say to these people? Screw you. Vote differently. You can't call it oppression if you keep voting for it, and you keep voting for it. So group leaders said, "What?"
So they're trying to put these fine independent contractors, young ladies, fine independent contractors out of business. Is that what they're trying to do?
Yeah, they're just against women.
Yeah.
Now they'll probably try to put some tranny prostitutes in there instead. Group leader, not that we have anything against the transgenders. Group leaders said the NYPD's 100th and 115th precinct are overwhelmed and understaffed. Of course, because you defunded the police under de Blasio, under de Stupido, and you got rid of bail for most crimes. Holy shit. And the area has been taken over by organized crime, drug rings, human trafficking, pimps, prostitutes, and shoplifting rings. Oh, so it's like the southern border. The letter was signed by Group President Ramon Ramirez Baez and Hiram Monserrate. Boy, these names tonight. A Democratic district leader and former state senator and councilman. Sounds like Hochul may be on the outs. Sex for sale in the city. New York Post. Okay. The Post has run a series of stories exposing the explosion of brothels and shoplifting along Roosevelt Avenue, a main thoroughfare that runs through Jackson Heights, Corona, Elmhurst, and Woodside. Brothels are even spotted across the street from two public schools. Well, the kids got to learn some. That's what the Dems, the kids got to learn it somehow.
Yeah, independent contractors and entrepreneurs.
There you go. The local leaders also, there was a woman in Philadelphia who was a madam. And this is a true story. Irv Homer used to tell it. And she always did her taxes. And she would put in there, HOP was the name of the company, HOP, right? And it proved that back then, the IRS didn't give a damn how you earned your money, so long as you paid taxes on it.
As long as you give them a cut.
And she was an all cash business, right? HOP was an all cash business. And so one year she had a discrepancy, and she had her accountant with her and all that. And she had a person on the phone from the IRS. And the IRS said, "What does HOP stand for?" She went, "Oh, House of Prostitution." And she said, and the accountant on the show said, and the woman on the phone it sounded like she didn't even blink. "Oh, okay, let me write that down." Like she didn't care. Today, they're all political. So the Post has run a series of stories across the street in public school. The local leaders also complained about the proliferation of unsolicited food vendors, because you got to get that license in there to grease the palms. Our streets are filthy. Our community can't wait any longer, they wrote. Our quality of life has been eviscerated. We need New York State to intervene. Well, we'll start voting right. Stop voting for the same goddamn the same damn Democrats who make your life miserable. Hochul's office said the state police works closely with the NYPD and provides help when asked. Yeah, okay, look at this. How much? You want a date? Holy mackerel! Now is this woman right here in the center sitting on the? Is that advertising? I don't know. As the governor often notes, huh?
What is she sitting on?
Well, I don't. Well, see the other one over here. It's probably so that a car can't smash into it.
Oh, it's
and
one of
take
those.
out the fire hydrant.
Yeah, one of those big. Yeah.
Yeah, because you need the fire hydrant, so they probably have that there, so a drunk guy can't hit the fire hydrant. Quote, as the governor often notes, the New York State Police is in constant contact with and the governor has made coordination between local, state, and federal law enforcement central to all the public safety efforts. Yeah, right. From gun violence prevention to retail theft to subway safety. New York is a mess. It's just a mess.
You couldn't pay me enough.
Oh, I'm telling you. You really can't. Let's see what else.
You couldn't pay me enough to live in New York City or anywhere in California or really anywhere in New York or Illinois or Maryland or, well, you know the list.
Yeah. Here we go. Going to the grocery store, you see false information. Tim Walz's message to voters who blamed Kamala Harris for sky-high food prices, which is where the blame belongs. Tim Walz sat down for an interview with ABC News' Michael Strahan, which aired on Good Morning America on Friday. Of course, the interview was a total dumpster fire. I love the Gateway. Michael Strahan asked Tim Walz about sky-high grocery prices. Grocery prices are up more than 20% since Biden and Harris took office in January 2021. Food prices rose again in September, and wages are down. The index for meats, poultry, fish, and eggs rose 0.8% in September. The eggs index jumped 8.4%. The fruits and vegetables index increased 0.9% over the month. And that's a lot of money, guys. Following a 0.2% decline in August, Zero Hedge reported. Tim Walz squirmed as Michael Strahan brought up the poor economy and high food prices. 74% of voters said in the past year that they've had to cut back on groceries. I remember, is there a video? Yes, we're going to watch the video instead. Because who wants to listen to me read anymore? All right, here we go.
Economy, that is the top issue for voters out there. 74% of voters said the past year they've had to cut back on groceries because of the rising costs, of course. And a lot of those voters, they're concerned that they cast their vote for Kamala Harris, but she's responsible for that. Yeah. So how do you reach those voters? What do you say to those voters who may blame her for the economy right now?
Yeah, folks in the middle. What we talk to them about, what are the policies that are going to make a difference? And we see some of the data, but data doesn't impact people in their daily lives. Going to the grocery store and you see false information, whether it's bird flu impacting eggs. But the reality for most people is if those costs are up, they want to know what you're going to do about it. I think that's why she's focusing on making sure whether it's home ownership more affordable, tax cuts for the middle class. And let's just be candid about this. There's price gouging piece of this.
Guys, think about this. How is she going to handle home ownership? She's offering $25,000 to certain types of people. It's got to have equity, okay, to buy a house. Isn't that going to cause inflation? They're adding $25,000 per person of our money that they're going to float into the economy without any tangible thing that's being made, produced to justify it in the economy.
It's basically just starting a housing bubble.
Exactly. Thank you.
And
so that's her answer. That's the Democrats are always, well, we'll just throw money at it. Everybody loves money.
What I want to know is, he says you're getting bad information when you go to the grocery. Is he saying that the price stickers on your food is misinformation? Is that what he's saying?
It might be, but what I think he's saying is that you get bad information like from Trump and Vance and Fox News and stuff. I think that's what he was trying to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's an idiot. He tries to say a lot of things that and it reminds me of
Hey, what's up, Special K?
In George Orwell's
you were here,
1984. You remember George Orwell's 1984? There was one section where congratulations, we're increasing your chocolate allowance to 3 ounces per month.
Yeah, I remember
last year it was 4 ounces per month. But
yeah, no.
We're increasing your chocolate allowance to 3 ounces.
That was the old.
you know,
It was the old, what is this? That's a pen. No, this is not a pen. What is this? Oh, it's a pen. No, it's not a pen. What is this? Finally, he says, it's not a pen. Correct.
Yeah.
That was the new speak. That was, well,
Yeah.
that was the new thought. Yeah, new speak. Exactly, Bobby.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, oh, it's all misinformation. Excuse me. When I go into the grocery store and I see a sign there that says so much per pound,
Exactly.
that's okay. That's misinformation. So
Did you know? Did you
we're
know
just
that
kidding? We're just
they
kidding.
bullshit us 2 years ago, saying that? Remember when this went around when Biden was saying and Kamala was saying, they were saying, well, according to the number, well, we have 51 economists who say. Remember when they did that shit and they said, well, according to the numbers, people are making more money. They just don't want to spend it. What?
People are better off. They just don't know it.
Yeah, that was the other half of it. Yes. People are much better off. They just don't realize it. They don't know it.
Yeah.
Excuse me? What?
And
you're paying $4 a gallon of gas because that's what it was at for a long time. Right now, like I think in my area, it's like $3.89.
And this whole thing about price gouging at grocery stores.
There's the bubbles again.
Yeah, I don't know who does that. Got both my hands here, guys. I don't know who does that.
I'm not doing it. I swear I'm not.
I don't know who's doing it, but
holy fat fingers. That's great. Nothing is real. Yeah.
The fact is that grocery store markups are like in the 2 to 3% to 5% range.
Yeah.
Grocery store markups are not in any way, shape, or form price gouging.
The only thing that can create inflation is government. That's it.
Well, inflation is basically defined by too much money chasing too few goods, basically.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. So when the government spends too much money and there's not, like when they give money away, if you will, to flood a market, but they don't, and that's just to buy tangible things that have already been manufactured. Okay. So you don't have the production of goods, or, well, let's not say service. Let's do with goods. You don't have the production of goods to justify all that money. I mean, the price always goes up. And did you see that Kamala talked very shortly about wage control or price controls?
Oh, yeah.
Talking about price controls, which have never worked anywhere they've ever been tried. So why not?
Communist.
Yeah. It'll, well, it just didn't work. I love the commies where they go, well, communism didn't work anywhere because it was never done right. No.
It was never done right.
It didn't work anywhere because it was done right.
Yeah, and by the way, that system that you love so much has cost somewhere between 100 and 300 million lives in the past 100 years.
Oh yeah.
In case anybody, you want to do one more story? We're getting.
They'll say, you know how many people died because of religion? Yeah, well, the atheists got you outbeat when the commies did that shit throughout the 20th century.
We could run a whole couple hours on that. Religion is different than faith.
Yes.
And faith in all its forms, faith and spirituality are good. Religion is
could be good, but most of them are not.
It can be good, but every religion has been used for terrible things. And I get a bit cynical, for instance, when you can do, you can rape babies and go to see the priest and the priest gives you absolution. Okay, good. I'll do it again this week and I'll see you again on Friday, Father.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if it's true, but, the mafia guys, they go out and they eliminate a couple of guys and they'd go in, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. My last confession was a week ago. And they'd talk about the jobs that they did. And the father would say, a couple of Hail Marys, couple of
I don't believe I was a Catholic. My parents, they sentenced me to 12 years of Catholic school. And so I know a little bit about that. And I don't think the commission of a crime, a priest would normally say in response, and what are you going to do to remedy that? And if the person does, I don't know what you mean. Well, first of all, you have to turn yourself in. And because if it is a crime that they committed and it goes against, let me see, there we go. Exactly.
against humanity.
Just because the Father forgives them doesn't mean God did. Exactly. But in the
Well,
Catholic
amen
Church,
to that. Amen to that, brother.
yeah, in the Catholic Church, before I escaped, they had taught us that what's said in the confessional is between you and the priest. However, there are things. It's kind of like when you tell your lawyer about the crime that you're being charged with, and he can't say anything. But he has to report any future crimes that you talk about. Like you're talking about, you're going to do something.
He also can't suborn perjury.
Right. But I think that I think there's something in there. I'll have to research that again. But I think there's something in there that you can't go into confession and get forgiveness for committing like murder.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm also a recovered Catholic, but or recovering Catholic. I don't know, however you say it these days. But you can go in and you can tell the Father all kinds of things, and the whole concept of the Catholic Church was that you did not have a connection to God. Your connection to God was through the priest, and that's how
That
the
is
Catholic
true. That's why they don't.
Church-
That's why they don't use the Bible.
That's how the Catholic Church maintained power. That's why the Bible was like understanding religion. Yeah, religion has been hijacked. That's why the Bible was in Latin, and that's why what's his name? Oh God, what's his name? Who printed it in English got in trouble because all of a sudden the average person could read the Word of God instead of asking the priest what it was, and that was how they maintained it. And there was a lot of do what I say, not what I do, because the priests were guilty themselves of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And so let me rant and rave for just a minute. So originally, right from the Pope, and it was very organized. And the reason, for instance, priests are celibate is because they didn't want them to have any children, because children would inherit whatever they had, and they wanted the church to inherit whatever anybody had, and they end up getting. So I'm kind of on a weird tangent. I forget what my exact point was, but you couldn't speak to God. You had to speak to the priest.
Right.
And that was one big thing in the Reformation. You could read the Bible yourself. You could have a relationship with Jesus Christ yourself.
Right.
And that was a big thing.
Let me get back to this. I looked this up, and it says a priest may withhold absolution from a murderer if he has reason to believe that the penitent is insincere. He may also assign the penitent to atone for his sin by helping those he has harmed anonymously if necessary. So yeah, he can give absolution. I don't know of any priest that I knew that would, without saying, you have to either turn yourself in, suffer the consequences if you want absolution from God, or you have to, give money to the family or whatever. You have to do something to show that you're sincere.
Listen, this goes all the way to the top.
Oh yeah. There's a communist in the Vatican.
John Paul II was murdered by the mafia because he wouldn't cooperate and work with them.
And yet we can't control the weather. I love John Paul II. I actually did. He and Margaret Thatcher.
He was the guy that was Pope for like 5 minutes, right?
No, that's Benedict. You're John Paul II. I went to a mass that he held in Philly. I was sitting on the Philadelphia Library windowsill outside and watching.
I may be getting the name wrong, but it was around the same time where they found the Vatican bookkeeper hanging from a bridge.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, you don't know about that? Yeah,
they found that.
Yeah, and and I mean,
John Paul I was a 6-month pope.
Okay, that's maybe who I'm thinking.
Second was the one that he and Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan ended communism.
Yeah, because it was
in Russia. I'm sorry.
I mean, I have no internal knowledge of this, but the stuff that I've learned about, he wouldn't play ball with organized crime, and they made sure that they got somebody who was a little more, hey, listen, was it not Pope Pius? Who was it during World War II? The Pope was, he was pretty okay with the Axis powers. He was like all over that.
Really?
Yeah. Who was the Pope in the early 1940s?
Pope
I don't know
Pius.
if it was Pope Pius
the Seventh. Yeah.
It was Pope Pius.
Yeah, from 39 to 58.
He was okay with it. He thought that was just fine.
Yeah.
He thought that was just fine. And so, yeah, anyway, I'm not sure if I have any more points than I've made, but religion has gotten out of control. And
I don't think, let me say this. Like my church, I go to a born again church, evangelicals, and our pastor he rocks. The guy's great. I mean, I like the church a lot. It's not boring. I mean, the Catholic Church was like, the only good thing, if you want to call it that, is you could go to any church in the country and you know exactly how the mass is going to go because they're the same in every single church. And then and the singing, say what I say when I say it, and we all go home. That.
Padre, Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
What did the Pope say? What was the Pope's blessing? Okay, you daggos off the lawn.
I've finished my mass. Now you get off of my lawn.
Get off the lawn. Gave me nightmares. Yeah. Well, I was in that gig for like 12 years. I got a really good education, but outside of that, I felt that they lied to me about almost everything. I don't think that there are a lot of churches, and I mean, I think the overwhelming majority of them, the churches that are not Catholic, that are Protestant and are fine churches that are not political. They haven't gone Lulu crazy. There are some that are crazy ass, but I think there's like my church. I would never say. And there's another church, that I went to for a while that was another born again evangelical, and they're not crazy people. As a matter of fact, my church, they're all Trump supporters. Every last one of them.
And,
all Trump supporters.
A couple of like one of the I believe it's called the Catholic Charities. It's kind of an umbrella group.
Right.
And they're one of the biggest supporters of illegal migration from Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the Catholic Church has lost so many followers, and most people coming from Latin America are Catholic.
And they have a Marxist Pope who was from Argentina.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if he's Marxist. Wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, he's a Marxist. Oh, yeah, there was I'll send you the article. There was a coup in Europe with all the left-wing cardinals who got him elected. They got him in. There was a coup. I forget who wrote it. It was a very well-written article. I forget who wrote it though. But I'll find it for you. I'll send it.
Okay, man, listen. I don't know if you want to do much else. We've reached 3 hours. You've had me here for 3 hours.
All right.
You got me going a couple of times.
That's all right. That's why we have you here, so you can get going. So you can go on your rants.
Yeah, I ranted a couple of times. Did you want to do anything more, or are we just about winding down?
Well, I was gonna do like one more story.
Listen, if you want to do one more short one, I'll hang out.
Yeah. Let me do one more.
You're pushing my endurance.
For the guys and gals. Here you go. This one. Catherine Herridge. You know who she is? She used to be on Fox. She's at CBS now. She's awesome. She's a really good reporter. One of the few that's left. Catherine Herridge spills the tea on CBS over Kamala interview editing scandal.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
But it seems.
Can you believe that? So let's get back.
Yeah, you know, that first answer she gave, I'm sitting there listening to it. Like everything she says, it's like, what the hell did she just say?
It's a damn word salad, isn't it? So, let me go back.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. So, all right, guys. The 3-hour hostage crisis.
I saw that. All right. Salutations, all individuals, fellow human beings.
Yep.
And others.
Thanks, guys. Hit the like button before you leave if you haven't already. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, the like button. I see we got, we got at least one person. We got 17 watching and 16 likes. So whatever slacker is out there, reach down, hit that button.
Yep.
Let's do it. And hope to see you next week.
Yep. Hey, when's your retirement problems going to end? Like this part of it. I know you're retiring in November, but
21st of November. I give everybody the double plus big middle finger. That's what I do.
God bless, Jeremiah. Thank you for being here, guys.
Yeah.
Everyone, thank you.
Yeah, we can talk offline if you want to shut it down, but 21st of November.
All right, cool.
So, all right, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Been a pleasure.
Have a good one.
See you next week.
Yep. See you guys. Have a good night. Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye. And we're ending.